Now that all my fucking plumbing's done, hopefully.
Yeah, you had to replace the shitter. Did you replace the flame?
Well, upstairs
Of course I
on
cut out. Of course I cut out immediately.
yeah, you cut out immediately.
Immediately. I mean, that's a great omen to this whole how this whole fucking thing's gonna go.
Well, hey, me and James are working it out. It's fine.
James
But
and I.
Yeah, that's all that matters.
yeah. But yeah, upstairs I had to replace basically everything and all the seals on that toilet, and then this one downstairs, just after that, started leaking between the floor and the toilet because
Oh,
the
that's
wax
not
unit
good.
was fucked on
Oh,
it.
yeah, the wax. That's an easy fix though.
It was, so I had to
Yeah.
but it's such a tiny bathroom to work in. There's no room. So
Oh,
skipping that
yeah.
whole fucking toilet up and trying to clean all around it and
Did
replace
you have to do it by yourself?
Yeah.
That sucks. If you have
Yeah.
two people to replace a wax seal, it's not as bad.
We wouldn't have been able to fit two people in there even to do it.
It's that small?
It's that small.
Oh, okay, yeah. That
So it's
sucks.
like there wouldn't have been a good way for anybody to help me like lift it. So, but I got it on there good and it all sealed up real nice. And I didn't seal around the toilet because I wanted to flush it a bunch of times and let it go for like a day to see if it would leak.
Yeah, see if you squish it enough. Yep.
Fucking worked great, you know. And then I got done siliconing around it today, so it should be all good to go.
Yeah.
I'm getting real sick and tired of fucking plumbing projects.
Dude, welcome to being a homeowner.
Yeah, between the kitchen sink and both the fucking toilets and all this other bullshit I've been dealing with. It's
Dude,
like,
you've been to my place. You know how many projects I just said fuck it because it was just nonstop.
yeah.
When we moved in, I was like, "There's how to fuck." I mean, unless you're like an old boomer and you're retired and you got a house that needs work, it's like between work and social commitments and everything. There's not enough fucking hours in the day
For sure.
to like keep up with every little thing that happens. That's
Well,
it. But here's the thing: is I'd rather have a house than be renting one and just be able to call somebody. To be honest with you. To be totally honest with you, like I know it's really close. That decision's
It's just
very
costing
close.
me more money than
Oh,
when
I
was
know.
in my apartment.
Yeah, but I mean, it adds up, and it's just like,
Yeah.
But you get to a point where it's like everything's good,
Mhm.
and then whatever. It's like we had to fucking replace like in 2020 our goddamn furnace went out in October.
Yeah.
It was like 20 years old, and I'm like, God damn it, and almost froze to death. But it was like
Yeah,
so
that
that
was
was like
rough. I remember that.
$7,000, yeah. And I'm like, okay, there we go. And then all of a sudden the AC goes out, the next year, and I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, just
I mean, our AC's getting up there. Things like 20. It works good though.
oh, it'll work good until it doesn't.
Anytime it could go out though. It's
Oh, dude, mine worked great until it didn't.
Yeah.
And so
Well, the
it
thing
was
is,
like
the thing is old as fuck. Like it's surprising that it's lasted as long as it has. So
the next thing is the water heater because that's the same age, and I'm just like,
Yep.
I don't want to have a Tony Soprano situation where I come home and there's fucking just water everywhere.
Well, at least our
But-
water heater is brand new, so we don't have to worry
Yeah.
about that.
And it's not that expensive. It's just like every time you seem to be getting a little bit ahead and like above water in life, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, here's another $1,200. Here's another $5,000. For the AC. Here's
Once the ground fucking thaws a little bit, I got to go spend $400 on a pallet of cinder blocks to make some raised garden beds.
What don't you have enough room to like have an actual garden?
Yeah, we do, but the pests keep eating them.
Oh yeah, okay, yep.
And because St. Cloud has so many rules, I can't even use a fucking slingshot to kill rabbits and squirrels.
Really?
Really, it's all banned.
Anything with a projectile, it's an ordinance.
So they said anything that is air powered, okay, a firearm, or bows, crossbows, and slingshots by name.
What does that leave you with?
I found a really nice spring-powered pellet rifle that'll throw a 30 caliber slug at like 800 FPS.
Okay.
So
that works.
Is,
I mean,
it's like basically it'll have the equivalent muzzle energy of like a 45 ACP.
Well, what I got to do, this year I'm leaving it fallow again, and I'm just gonna put plastic over it the whole year after I preen the shit out of it. I want to just dump fucking preen on there on the garden area. Like you've obviously been in the garden, and I'm just gonna preen the fuck out of it, put plastic over the top, and let it kill as much as possible this year.
Yeah.
And then I'm also gonna put fencing around it, like little small intricate mesh fencing, because there's no way to keep all those plants that we planted, was that in 2020 or was that 20? I don't remember what year that was.
2021, yeah.
But all those plants that we planted got eaten.
Yeah,
most of them.
How, like half our garden. Well, between the seed company messing up and like half the plants we bought ended up being fucking cherry tomatoes.
That sucks.
Yeah, like all the peppers, beans, and stuff we bought ended up being cherry tomatoes.
Where did you get your seeds from?
We just bought them like the packets.
Dude, we talked about this when you were here.
Yeah.
I fucking told you where to get them. Where they're really good.
Yeah.
I also have seeds. If you want seeds that are actually acclimated to up here, I did save the seeds from the plants that made it.
Yeah. Well, that's what we did this year. We got seeds from the plants that did really good this last year.
They're not heirloom though. If you bought them, they're most likely not heirloom. They're not going to germinate. We
bought heirloom seeds.
They say that, but it's.
Well, we'll see how it works out. But
if you need seeds, just we'll have a play date. Where we'll trade
I'll have
seeds.
To be anywhere until March 11th. So.
Dude, I've got so many fucking seeds, and I'm not going to be using them this year, and they're coming up on 2 years, or almost 2 years.
Sure.
So if you want seeds, I'll give them to you.
Yeah, I'll take some seeds if you want.
Yeah, I got a bunch of different kinds of tomatoes that actually grow up here. Got really good cucumbers, pickling cucumbers, the Russian ones and the Parisian ones. They're really dense and they're fucking. I pickled some of them and they're amazing.
Yeah.
So if you want cukes, I've got tomatoes, cukes. We got tons of different kinds of tomatoes. Pepper seeds.
I just gotta get those raised garden beds in because that's gonna really cut down on the rabbits.
Yeah, you gotta put fences around them.
No, I'm just gonna do them like 2 cinder blocks tall, and then I'll put like paving stones.
They'll still get in.
Huh?
They'll still get in.
It'll be a lot harder for them to get in though.
They'll still get in.
I just don't want them right on the ground.
Well, the fucking deer fucked over most of my fruit trees. I showed you that.
Yeah, you showed me that. Yeah.
That was stupid. I should have. My parents said put fences around them. And most of my fruit trees got taken the fuck out. That's a lot of money.
That was expensive, yeah.
So
the thing is, I'm just trying to, because then also the raised garden beds will look good. We got a big composter. We've been composting for over a year now.
That's good. Yeah, keep turning that shit.
Yeah, and it's like we got buckets and buckets of it to fill them.
James, do you garden?
I did once when COVID hit, but since moving down here, I haven't. But I have in the past.
Yeah,
and we used to plant massive gardens when my grandparents lived. So
so you have garden then.
Yeah, but I was thinking like farm garden, not.
No. I'm talking like a garden where it's like you get your own produce.
Oh, I mean, we did that. We just like filled a pasture with a garden though. Tomatoes, potatoes, jalapenos, everything.
Yeah. Because then you do that, and you learn how to can shit too.
Yeah.
Oh fuck! See, you're on the same page. Like, that's what we're talking about. Is just because like I have
saving some money. It's not super expensive.
Well, it's so much better.
I get all the produce I want. Yeah, I have to wait for it a little bit, but it saves money in well into the fall. It just last year.
It's amazing.
The pests got to so much, and then the drought.
The drought, dude. I am so fucking glad for whatever reason. Last year, it was one of the first year I was like, I don't have time for a garden this year, and it was that drought, and it was like
that was a good year to not have a garden.
I know, right?
I was out there watering mine every day, and the soil would just be bone dry, and like I got really good dirt out here, because this house was built on a turn of the century farmhouse that got bulldozed, and then they just brought in a shitload of black dirt over it. So it's all really good dirt here for growing, and everything that did grow grew really well.
But you also need water.
Yep, it's just everything just needed so much water, and it was hard. And so like having the raised garden beds will help with that too, because I can get some better water retention.
Yeah.
Out of that stuff, and then hopefully it'll keep the pests away, and then it'll be kind of something cool to like decorate, and it'll do better for the heat because I can paint the concrete, which will help keep the dirt a lot cooler, and hopefully biodiverse because we do have this one kind of apparently fungus that's in some parts of the soil here that were hard on the root vegetables like the beets and stuff.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
Oh shit! I need to get more turnip seeds. That just reminded me.
Yeah.
I think I planted the last of them 2 years ago. Turnips are so easy, and they're so
they grow just about anywhere, and they really like the shitty soil up here.
And they keep if you store them a certain way, they'll keep most of the winter.
They're good.
Yeah.
Just boil them up, make some nice root mash out of them.
Yeah, I take potatoes and a shitload of butter and salt, and I'll mix about, I don't know, 50-50 sometimes. Sometimes the ratio is different, but I'll just cube them up, boil them, and then I'll mash the fuck out of them, like mix the turnips and the potatoes together.
Mm-hmm.
And so good. And then I still have those pickled beets from 2020 or 2021. My parents, they 1 year they just planted like a shitload of beets, and they got like, I mean, the most beets I've ever fucking seen in my life. They're like, we didn't think they were all going to come up. And
Yeah.
they did. They're like, we can't handle this many. So I still have a shitload of pickled beets, and they're amazing. Bro, yeah, James, you tried them down in Ohio, and you didn't. It wasn't your thing.
No, they were.
No.
If you're not a pickle person, come on now.
He's a pickle person, but just pickled, like
pickled beets, not so much.
It's an acquired taste. And I grew up with them. Like my grandma would make them religiously, and just they were always there. Like when we had meals, as they were cold, and she'd serve them hot with certain meals.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm used to them, but I can definitely see how somebody would not like them. It's a weird combination of flavors. You got dirt, sweet, and vinegar.
Yeah, I
all
like
in
that.
one. Yeah, me too. But yeah, James, he tried one. And he's just like, not my thing. And I'm like, cool.
Well, we got to make two. I got to get 2 new fruit trees as well, because we got a cherry tree that was doing really good, but then the drought finally got to it.
Oh, it sucks.
Cherries are right at the end of the season. It was doing so good and trying so hard, and then the plum tree never took. So that one I got to replace. So
that fucking sucks. I mean,
well, I'm looking for shorter trees, because I have like 250-year-old silver maple in the backyard that is dying. It is hanging over all the power lines too, and leaning towards the house. Yeah, thing's a big, massive fucker. Like the trunk is probably 4 feet in diameter. It's a silver maple. Thing's old as fuck.
Jesus.
Yeah, thing's old as fuck. And
but it's on its way out.
Yeah, and then I took down a green ash tree that was leaning along the road that the city didn't take down. It was all infected with emerald ash borer, and they weren't.
Do you guys have those down south, James? The emerald ash borer?
It's the first I've ever heard of them. So,
well, do you have ash trees down there?
Fuck if I know.
Yeah, I actually don't even know that, because I know there's a big difference in like what trees grow where, but I just haven't thought about that, because I know maples don't really grow down south.
Ash trees are a maple; they're in the maple family. So
yeah, but they don't have actual like sugar maples, like silver maples and sugar maples down south. I don't think I've seen them past like central Illinois, to be honest with you.
But I know that like they're trying really hard to stop the emerald ash borer from getting far north, because they've made their way about halfway up Minnesota in the last decade.
Yep.
And then
we're in the cities now. Yep.
Yeah,
and then it became a problem magically
to cut them down, to stop the spread of them.
Yeah.
And this is just one of the trees that they missed about 5 years ago when they came through, because there was this one street here that the whole street was aligned with ash trees. So they came through about 5 years and cut every single tree down along the street. And it's a pretty long street.
Really quick, I'll just say one thing, and then you got to hear what James is working on. And then it's fucking, and then what he got accomplished this week. Fucking amazing. But they, I remember when, Sophie and I moved into her second apartment down in Minneapolis, the really nice one. The morning after we had moved in, like we got everything moved in one day, and moving in the city sucks.
It's terrible.
It's fucking awful. Going up, we had to go up 8 flights of stairs. I mean, it was fucking insane, right? To move all the furniture. So we were just tired as shit. We ate a bunch of food. We got drunk, and then we wake up and we're like, all right, we're just going to sleep most of the day. Nope. 0 for like 5 or 05:30. Mm-hmm. This fucking loud ass plane is like literally 100 feet off the top of this building that we lived in, and we were on the top floor. And I'm like, what in the fuck? And it's this red plane. I'm like, that's DNR.
Yeah.
And it's going, and it's just doing rows.
They're looking for ash.
It was spraying the whole fucking area for emerald ash borer. I'm like, you can't do this in the middle of the fucking day. It has to be at 5 a.m. Fucking asshole.
Yeah.
But
he had shit to do. All right.
Yeah, well, I think he was spraying most of the day, so he's like, I'm gonna start at fucking.
I gotta start early
03.
because he probably did that the whole fucking day.
He probably went from like 03 to fucking, like 10 p.m. that day. But
just spraying, and he
just
still probably didn't get it all done.
We'll see. But I'm like, hey, there's no consent form for me to sign. What the fuck are you spraying on us?
Just breathe the chemicals, Mike. It's fine.
They're okay.
Yeah,
they're good for you.
They only kill emerald ash borer and people 20 years from now.
Yeah. Well, if you were ever sprayed by a plane that looks like this and sounded like this, please call this number.
Exactly. You're entitled to monetary compensation of $35 because everyone else was also exposed to it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like when the hearing aids thing came out, the earplugs thing. It's like, everyone enjoy your $20.
The funny thing is we literally threw those fucking things out.
They're not
when
good.
We got issued them.
Because
our like E6s and like the NCO core, they were like, just use the fucking foam ones at the range that they give you. They're like, every time you go to the range, grab a handful and always have one pair on you. Those are the ones that work better. They, you won't get your hearing blown out because these things fucking suck. We were like, okay. But anyway, James, tell the world, if you want, in as much detail or as little as you want, what you've been working on and what you acquired.
Well, we recently at the museum, we got a big collection from a family. The dad was in the 4th Marine Division in World War II, and it was 2 brothers, the Duvall brothers, that joined together and managed to finagle their way to be assigned to the same unit. And one of the families donated a trunk, and the trunk had all of his letters and uniforms and documents and dog tags and photographs and everything you could ever imagine. And then we found later that both the brothers had written memoirs after the war that they just gave to their families. So they never published them. So now I'm working on. Now I'm working on putting their stories together and publishing a book detailing their interesting career together throughout the Pacific, because they were on all of them: Roy, Saipan, Tinian, and Iwo. And not like, at the end. I mean, these guys were first and second wave on each island. So they went through a whole lot. But as we learned yesterday, because I'm not an expert on that stuff, I texted Mike and everybody, and all of the dungarees that they gave us are stamped, and they line up matching for his time on Saipan and Iwo. So, like,
do you have pictures of those that we can put? Do you want to show people right now or no?
Just the pictures I sent you.
Yeah, I mean, can you share your screen and then I'll put it up, and because I want Devin to see this.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, I don't have them on here; they're on that Facebook chat because that's on my.
Oh, so you just took them with your phone? Okay.
Yeah, that's on my work computer.
Yeah.
So if you've got them saved, pull them up.
I didn't save them yet because they're in the chat, which is awesome. But so this is this chat. Let me but keep talking about it while I'm doing this.
Yeah, so anyway, we got his dungarees and everything. I mean, it's an interesting story. It's just really fun to read their stuff because you can really tell which one's the older brother because he takes things way more seriously than the other one does. And like there's one instance on Tinian where, it was only 9 days, but there was a hell of a bonsai attack against the Marines. And I guess they dug in on the beach, and the 2 brothers were kind of next to each other, or in the same area generally. And the younger one had like dingy fever, and so the doc gave him some medicine, and he was sunburnt, he was tired, so he dug in. He laid down and fell asleep, and when he woke up, he said there were like some bullets snapping on a twig above his head. So he got up and looked around, and there's 6 Jap tanks destroyed and bodies all over the place. And he crawls out and finds his brother, and he's like, "Hey, what's going on?" And his brother is pissed because he thought he was dead. And so he starts yelling at him, and he slept through the entire bonsai attack that
Yeah,
day.
I mean, he got fucking dengue fever shitty enough. Like, I'm sure he was just wrecked.
He
Just
was out, and so he thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
But his brother was pissed because he thought he was dead. So
what'd you do in the 25th battle? I slept in and missed it.
He slept through the whole damn thing.
Yep. That's funny. Though.
So they get shit like that all the time. That just dumb shit they went through. And like I said, they were like on Iwo. The older brother was part of the 1st Signal Battalion, 1st Signal Assault Company, whatever it is. Oh yeah, here are the jackets.
Oh, is it baby markings? Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to see in this, but it's 333.
Yeah, no, I got the other pictures too, but like, yeah, the nice P41s. I mean, they're fucking. Yeah. Those are in such good shape. For having been stored for fucking 70, almost 80 years.
Also,
now.
like they just disintegrated.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, HVT wasn't great. And look at these second patterns. They're Marines, but guess what they were wearing?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's how it pretty much always ended up.
Another P40 or the same P41.
Yeah, that one's more eaten up and dirty. That's the one that's numbered for his time in the 1st Battalion, which would have been Roy, Saipan, and Tinian. Yeah, 433.
Right here. Yep. Check this out. Isn't that fucking awesome, Devin?
That is pretty cool. Because I like the Pacific Theater a lot, and
it's very misunderstood. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we've got one for at least Saipan, and then 2 for Iwo. And of course we have his dress uniform and his khakis, but that's what we're looking at today were the dungarees. And we've got his dog tags and everything.
Heck yeah.
And the brother, we're hoping the families, they're supposed to give us like the 45 he carried on Iwo.
Heck yeah.
So we'll get a lot, but it's been fun to write it. And I've reached out to families of a bunch of the other Marines they mentioned, because they're very detailed memoirs.
How long after were these written?
So they're kind of mixed. I don't know when Stanwood wrote his. I mean, it wasn't too long after.
But within 5 years, you think?
No, I don't think that early.
Okay.
But they had kept diaries and shit, so like it was based off their diary. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But Claude, same way. But for him, it was like in the 60s, he finally started dictating it. And then again in the 80s, he dictated some of it. And then he passed away. So it's over time. But comparing the two, they're very similar. And then I've also like located other stories that matched what they were saying. So obviously their memories were very...
if they had their diaries and they could still read them, like in Don's case, like he...
Yeah, I mean, they had them. And like I said, some of the stories I've learned from the other people match. So their memories were all very good, even with names and shit. So, I went going through the stories are great. And like I said, they continue through the whole war. It just... Claude... he keeps saying like, but I'll come back to that, and he never comes back to it.
Yeah,
that's an ADHD thing.
Yeah, so he never tells you some of the stories. But Mike, are you familiar with like Clifton Cates?
No.
So Clifton B. Cates, 96 company in World War I. Became a general after World War I. He was on Guadalcanal, commanded the 4th Division or whatever. And then became Marine Corps Commandant after World War II. Okay. Cates is a big deal. And every Marine that ever served under Clifton Cates holds him at a very high esteem.
Yep.
But there's one story in Claude's memoir where he's talking about the Colonel Haas told him, we got to clear out these caves. So Claude being in charge of this little operation, he puts the mortars on top of this cliff and he tells them, don't fire until the tanks fire. And then he goes down there to tell the tanks, don't do anything till we can get some of these people out of the caves. And the tanks say, no, we got orders to fire. And he said, well, who the hell gave you the orders? And they said, well, General Cates. And he says, well, who the fuck's running this operation? The Colonel or General Cates? Because I've got mortars up there and you're going to fuck up my entire system. And about that time, he sees the Marine's face and he turns around and there's General Cates and the Colonel standing right there. Yeah. And he says the Colonel's face is like white. But General Cates says, well, you're running this operation. Do it like you want. Turns around and walks away.
Yeah. Good leader.
Yeah,
good leader.
Left it like that. And Claude writes like, I thought I was going to be court-martialed or killed.
No. At that point, when you've got that and you go, What the? What, did he use that language in the?
Yeah, no, that's what he said. I mean,
excellent.
He was writing that. He's like, "Who the fuck's running this operation?"
Yes.
Turns around and Kate just walks away, and and then he says later, "It's like," and then we open up with the tanks, but it's like little caveats to get thrown in there, but they're all interesting and fun. Just stories that are all over the place. So I'm trying to.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's kind of like that trope in Patton where like they're at Monte Casino and Bradley, his vehicle gets hit, and then he's like scrambling and goes next to a private. What silly son of a bitch is in charge of this operation? I don't know, but they ought to hang him. It's like that kind of shit of like just people being honest with like upper leadership, and there's no repercussions. Mm-hmm. It's that little trope. I don't know if that actually happened, but it's kind of the same concept. It's just fucking hilarious. Like, guess what? If you're an E5 or even an E3 and a general hears you speaking like that with that confidence, they're probably going to be like, well, that guy knows what the fuck's going on.
He knows what he's talking about. Yeah.
I probably do. So go for it. If you fuck it up, then we'll talk, but go for it.
Yeah, and so they're doing that all the way. And then, of course, with like Stanwood, it's also interesting because he's in charge of the first assault signal company. That's the first unit they created. Like that was an experiment. As forward naval observers, right? They're the ones on the beach calling in the naval gunfire.
Oh, so they're basically fisters for the Army, like the Navy equivalent.
Yeah, they're forward observers, except the Marines are landing to call in naval artillery.
That's what I mean. Like, so it's like they're fisters. So they didn't have them before that?
No, this was a completely like new operation.
How did they operate in the First World War then?
Fucking, they just, I don't know. I have no idea. They didn't make them. The first assault signal company was not created till World War II. And I've got his letters, and he's like, yeah, they're putting us in some newfangled unit they decided to test out. I guess we'll see what happens.
They didn't. That's baffling to me.
Well, it was probably like one of those things where it was like the inter branch thing.
Maybe.
But
the thing is, they also worked with naval officers. So like they had naval liaison officers that were attached to the Marines, and so it's this weird combination of like Marines.
Like, they had fisters and stuff during the First World War, but it's
but they're with the second ID or second division though. Oh,
no, but I'm talking. But
I'm just trying to correlate this to why they didn't exist previously.
I don't know why they didn't.
But they're with the second division though. Like, so that would make sense that they have our Army forward observers.
Oh well, yeah, but they're the only Marines. But again, naval.
Yeah, because they had a lot people. With the Marine Corps, like the Marine Corps, the First World War was like their biggest kind of intro into land combat, I think, is ever, up to that point in their history. And so they probably didn't have a lot of these jobs created.
Pretty much. And so they're just throwing these guys in it. And Stanwood's like, fuck it. I guess I'm it.
Go for it.
But and he hits it. But then he manages, in their letters, it's fun to see him. He manages to finagle his way to be attached to the 1st Battalion, 23rd Marines, which his brother is in headquarters. Company.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So now they're together and they're landing together at every single. They're like there's one instance on Saipan. They're in the same boat on the way to the beach. Like both brothers are in the same.
Risky. That's risky.
It is. But then like on Iwo, the story gets interesting because Claude shifts over to the 3rd Battalion. And so he's in the 3rd wave, but Stanwood's in the 1st wave on Iwo. And so he hits the beach, and all Claude can do is listen to the radio to hear his brother.
That would suck.
And then he hears static, and then it shuts off, and it's gone. And he thinks his brother's dead. So then he hits the wave, gets on the beach, and then finds his brother. Stanwood's unit took 80% casualties. And only, I think they had 10 guys in the company, but 8 of them were killed or wounded.
That's 80%.
But his brother's alive and unwounded.
Yeah.
He's still.
Holy fuck.
And then they push forward, and Claude's unit pushes into the airfields, and yada, yada, yada. But you just get all these fascinating little tidbits out of them. And there's really, oddly enough, there's books about all the battles, but there's not a lot written on the 4th Marines. There's like one or two books written on the 4th Marine. So we'll use it.
Another one of those, the few pieces for the billion-piece puzzle.
Yeah, but no one ever wrote about it. But I'm doing it more like, because they're both LSU related, so I'm writing it.
Right, well, of course. Related. Yeah.
But what I found is like on Iwo, one of the other 10 guys in Stanwood's unit was also an LSU grad. So now I've got 3 of them serving together. But then I found a list of like 6 other LSU grads that died on EWO. So I'm like linking all of their stories together to see what we can find.
Wow.
Yeah, there were a lot, but I mean, there's just
angling the web.
Yeah, there's so much, and I've gone through all of his letters to pull like what info I can, and then talking to like other families, and like I said, we have all of his files. So what's interesting for 2 of the guys that were killed on EWO, he has like the letter he wrote home to the family, and then he's got his official report on what happened, and so you can see the difference.
Side by side, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, your son, Sergeant Newt, he was with me the entire campaign. One of my best soldiers. He was killed instantly by an artillery shell. And then you read the official report, and he's like, me and Newt were pushing up. A shell goes off. I look over. Newt's top of his head's gone. And then Newt falls over dead. Like, obviously he cut that part out when he told the family.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, but there's like all these details. And then what I think is really cool, Claude later goes back to Iwo Jima when they built the monument, and they brought in like Japanese survivors and some Marines. So he's one of those Marines that went to that event.
Oh, okay.
And he wrote in like this letter to his grandson. After the ceremony, he kind of was feeling obviously a lot of mixed feelings and wandered off onto the beach and where they were. And he said he started to feel like deja vu, and he started to get his bearings, and he realized he had walked onto the beach he landed on that morning. And he said he walked over to this bunker, the ruins of this bunker, and he said, or he wrote, last time I was standing here, there was a Marine with no legs bleeding out, and I offered him a cigarette. And so it was like he was walking with the ghosts of Iwo Jima across the beach. He was getting himself figured out. So I figure I'll end the book with that, like his reflections on the battle 40 years later. But there's just so much out of it, and I still haven't met with the brothers' family to get that information to pull it in.
No, you've already, It's because when you brought this up a few months back, you're like, I'm just throwing this idea around. What do you guys think? We're like, hell to the fuck yes.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, absolutely do this.
Yeah, I mean, it's an amazing story, and like I said, the memoirs are wonderful, very well written. So I've got plenty of info to go off of, but it's these little stories that I pull. One of them, I've now had 3 other families confirm this story, so I obviously know they're both correct on it.
Mm-hmm.
One of the lieutenants, Norval, he was from Texas, and they said on Roy, they had to dig a latrine pit, and it was next to this farm, and there was a bull, and they were trying to like do some like move the bull or use it for something. And they couldn't get it. And Norval said, these guys don't know how to handle cattle. And he jumps in there and decides to like take a stick and smack the bull on the nose. And they said the bull hit the lieutenant and ran him right into the latrine pit.
The slit trench. Yeah.
And he climbs out, and all these other Marines are laughing so hard at him. And he's like, I'll court martial all of you. And that made them all laugh even harder. But I was like, okay, but now I've had 4 people confirm that story that weren't aware of the memoirs. So
that's funny.
Yeah.
Don't fuck with the wildlife. Don't fuck with the wildlife.
It's not wildlife. Farm animal.
It's wildlife.
No, it's a farm animal. Well, my favorite story, I think, out of the whole thing is they cleared out a cave. I don't know if it was Saipan or Tinian. I have to go back and look. But they're cleaning out a cave, and they pull these Japanese women out or whatever, the islanders, and then they find like 2 Korean guys.
Yeah, well, Yep.
And they're like, what the fuck are y'all doing here? And they're like technically prisoners, but like the Koreans just hung out with them, and the Marines adopted them like mascots, and they named them like Joe and Ted. And then one day they found Joe and Ted like sleeping on the ammunition depot, and so they were like, well, I guess they can be trusted. So then they gave them dungarees and weapons, and just brought their 2 Korean mascots with them.
Well, dude, here's the thing: is the Koreans probably fucking didn't mind that because they're already fucked. They thought they were dead. They hated the Japanese. They hated them.
Oh,
It was forced labor, and they were laborers. They weren't ever treated as soldiers. They got minimal food. They're like, you're going to dig this position. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. And the Marines probably treated them a hell of a lot better than the IJA did, or IJN, whoever they were with. And like, that's probably why they were like, yeah, give them weapons. They'll kill the Japs. They don't
They
like
liked him, but then they got like orders from up top. They're like, you have to turn in all of your prisoners. And they're like, fuck, okay. So they had to give back the Koreans. But
Who? Joe and Ted?
yeah, they're like, yeah, fuck it, fine. Here's Joe and Ted. Like, just dumb shit. But that's the beauty of these little stories that come up because you don't normally get those in memoirs. But
well, it does confirm, like every single story like that confirms some of what we know already.
Mhm.
And it's like again, we're putting those pieces closer together and like, okay, so this did happen, this is how it happened, this is what was going on, etc., etc.
Yeah.
And I love that. It's amazing.
Well, and it's the fact that these two brothers managed to finagle their way, and then they're always competing with each other, like who's the better shot, and then one of the daughters told me like, oh yeah, this Uncle Stanwood like took some official paperwork and wrote up a promotion document for himself to prank his brother, like, haha, I got promoted before you.
Were they both officers or
both officers? Yeah, they went through everything together. And in fact, their numbers are one after the other, like their service numbers.
Their service are so they're both officers. They so they're second Louis when they both join or like go over.
And they're both in their 30s. Like they both have good careers.
And they went to college. They did all that shit.
Both went to LSU.
Claude they went to LSU before they went to.
Yeah. And
I didn't know that.
These guys are in their 30s. Like they've already
like
graduated.
They're like my age.
Yeah, they've already got careers.
Yeah.
Like they've already got families and kids.
And so they join as officers in the Marine Corps.
So both join up at the same time. Both end up officers, same officer reserve class, and then they get separated. And then in all their letters, they're talking about how do I get myself connected to you? And that's when he joins that group and gets attached to the 23rd Marines, and now they're together again.
Yeah.
But they do all this together, and then they always compete on who's going to be the first one promoted, who's going to be the first one that wins.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. Yep.
And what are they doing the whole time? And all their letters like, yeah, don't worry, we're still fine. Stanwood's here, we're doing great, we're still alive.
Yeah, of course.
But of course, there's just so many little stories. So the plan is to kind of write it like their stories together, and then the times where they diverge, I'll like write about Stanwood, and then up to a point, and then I'll stop, and then I'll write about Claude until they remerge again.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, both their perspectives on the battle. And it even told me like little bits I didn't know that aren't in some of the official histories. Like when they took Roy, Roy, Namur, whatever it is, right? There's two islands, but they're pretty much the same. Anyway, whoever was taking the other island were like getting pinned down and needed help, and they weren't supposed to go over there, but some of them decided to go help anyway. So they swam across the little strait and then like helped take the other island and swam back without getting in trouble.
Huh.
Jesus.
But Claude wrote about it because Claude's the intelligence officer. So like he's just doing whatever he wants and says he's scouting, So there's like stories like that are included that I find really interesting from these two idiots. But since the brothers, they're very much just constantly like, okay, you're alive. All right, we're good.
Yeah, we're good, but we're still competitive.
They dig into foxholes together. Like they're always hanging out. But obviously worried about each other. And then, like I said,
it's amazing they both survived too.
They were wounded. Claw is wounded, and he gets hit in the shoulder with like a piece of shrapnel. Like that's it, and that's on Iwo at the end. Right?
That's insane.
And he doesn't get He doesn't evacuate. He's like, "Fuck it, it's fine." We'll
deal with it when we get done with this, bitch.
Yeah, and so
bandage it up.
And we've got, luckily, some of the photos that I got from the family. There's two really good ones. One of them is Claude, and then some like correspondence on Roy. They called it the Roy Press Club. They took over some ruins, and they're like, he's cleaning like a Japanese. Is it a Lewis gun?
It's a Lewis gun. Yeah. Yep.
He's cleaning like a Japanese Lewis gun. There's a Japanese sword. Like they've captured all this shit.
Yep.
And then there's another photo of both the brothers on Iwo Jima, like holding a flag they captured.
Nice.
So, I mean, there's so many great things. And unfortunately, that flag, the son took it to like school in 3rd grade for show and tell, and someone stole it. So,
yep.
Yeah. So I don't have that flag.
Yeah. It's been gone for years.
Yeah. But I do have a photo of like Stanwood Jr. 2 years old holding this Jap flag his dad sent home.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. That's just so cool. It's just a lot of fun stuff, especially going through and finding photos and the yearbook, like their officer reserve class and then the 23rd Marine yearbooks. he went back through and marked like died, killed, transferred for all the men he knew. So as you flip through it, you're like, ah, damn, know, all the people he lost.
That's when it gets heavy, though. But you don't have anything better to do when you're sitting there bored half the time,
True. Well, and the bigger story with these two is that they both come home and become big for Louisiana. Like Claude becomes a senator, and there's a room named after him in the Capitol building here in Baton Rouge. And Stanwood, I think, becomes a judge. Like both are known in the state, but most people don't know about their military career beforehand.
Heck yeah. That's cool.
A lot of people don't realize too that like you're just saying they're in their 30s, right? Because people just say, oh, they're all 18 and drafted. It's like, no. The amount of people who volunteered after Pearl Harbor to the end was astounding. And people who were in their 30s, I think. So do you know what the cutoff was for like volunteering at that? Was it still 40?
I think so. And there were some rules, like the Marine Corps was the only one that you could join even if you were married. So, hang on, let me answer this voice.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool though.
Oh yeah, no, it's been
and it's local history on top of just being
exactly,
history anyways. Yeah.
Yeah, and he, again, he brought this up a few months ago in our little chat, and he's like, "Hey, I was thinking about doing this. What do you guys think?" And we're like, yeah.
Why haven't you started?
And then now he just got all this stuff because the family's like, well, if he can go to the museum, it's going to be safer there. Yes.
For sure. That's cool, though. I like
that. Yeah, dude, it's awesome. And it's going to be a great book.
Yeah.
So, but.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, it's just I figured you'd be interested in that, and I think.
Oh, I mean, it's a hell of a story, and Mike knows the shit I like to write about. So any dumbass story I can pull out of there, because there's so many cool ones they talk about. There's one he talked about with a corpsman, and it's like only a handful of corpsmen experience like hand-to-hand combat, and he's talking about Saipan, and all of a sudden this two Japanese soldiers get into the foxhole next to him, and he sees it, and it's the doc. And another Marine, and the other Marine manages to kill the Japanese soldier, but the doc is like hand to hand trying to fight the Japanese soldier. And this other Marine like grabs his rifle and puts it up and fires, and it goes through the doc's dungarees and hits the Japanese soldier and kills him. And then the doc is like, so he's like, oh shit! Now he's walking around showing everyone the bullet hole through his dungarees. Got everyone,
Yeah.
And it's like, all these crazy stories that the family just didn't know about, that the both brothers are like, no, we went through some shit and we killed a bunch of Japanese.
Yeah.
But, here's our story, and we're not going to leave out any of the details.
And how many of those exist in this country? You know what I mean? Like,
how many are
the family has it? It's preserved, but it's just sitting there. And
well, there's so many, like the amount of stuff. It's like I get so upset, especially like. You see it now, like Texas is doing a bunch of them, like those gun buybacks.
Yeah.
Do you know how much like World War II and like Vietnam shit is just like ending up being destroyed in these gun buybacks?
Well, and a lot of this stuff, people just don't look for it. Because as I've learned, the brothers like wrote these memoirs, made copies, like they printed out copies, and they sent them to different museums and archives to like hold on to it. And no one's ever used it.
Well, you got to think about some of these museums, how much shit they have, though, too.
Well, true. But, like, it's sitting in my museum. The first thing I did was I started reading every single memoir I found on the shelves.
Yeah.
And I realized, okay, no one's ever used this stuff. And why not tell their story together, especially with all their dumb little jokes and...
the ribbing back and forth constantly.
Yeah. In the middle of Iwo Jima, Claude's like, you know what? I need a better view. And he goes and finds a Marine aviator and says, hey, fly me up real quick. Hops in a plane and then flies over Iwo during the battle. Like, okay, cool. I know what we're doing now. And then they land and he calls in. Like, what the fuck? That's not in any history books. Like, they're not allowed to do that.
Oh, God, no. Yeah.
But Claude's like, nah, he was a friend of Stanwood's from law school. Like,
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so he got away with it.
So he just goes up and does a quick scouting run and goes, okay, now I know what the hell's actually going on.
Yeah. Dumb shit. And to be fair, I mean, the stories are great, but the really fun of it all is like, just as a historian, the research I have to do, because both the memoirs, they only use last names, right? They're like, oh yeah, when I was with Warsham and Kalen, but it's all last names. So then I have to go through and start, checking muster rolls and figuring out
cross-referencing,
right? And that's the easy ones. And then you get to the second level that are like they're transcribing and they're remembering years later. So you're starting to get the ones that are misspelled.
Yeah.
Right. And some are easy, like they call him Colonel Mustang, but it's Mustaine instead of Stang.
Oh, Mustaine. Okay.
Yeah. Right. So like, okay, I can figure this out and I can kind of connect the dots and figure out the names. And then you start getting the ones that are like, who the fuck is this? There's no name that makes any sense. And one of them that took me a while, but I got really lucky. He talks about on Roy. He's like, yeah, I was advancing and I find myself with Captain Kalen. And all of a sudden, we're trying to clear a bunker and this Jap runs out and he throws a grenade and we shoot him. And the grenade blows up in the face of this Marine. And I saw my first Marine casualty. And he wrote in parentheses, like, name of Hinnicle. I was like, who the fuck is Hinnicle? So I'm checking all the muster rolls, and there's not a Hinnicle. That name does not exist. So I'm like, I don't think I'm ever going to get it. So then I'm like, okay. He says Captain Kalen. Let me check Kalen's unit, right? And some of the muster rolls are missing, so hopefully you catch the right one. I'm like, okay, there's no Hinnicle, but the closest possible name is Hinneman. But
oh yeah.
But I don't. But like, how do I confirm?
You don't other than conjecture of like, hey, if I was gonna fuck up a name like that, a long name,
right? But like, I won't write anything unless I can confirm.
Oh, I know.
So then I'm like, all right, let's just do a Hail Mary, and I'm gonna type in this guy's name. It was a weird name anyway. His name's like O-Author, like O-A-R-T-H-U-R, O-Author, Hinneman. So I type in his name in newspapers.com, and an article pops up that says local Marine wounded in face by Jap grenade on Roy. And it's a whole article about author Hinneman getting hit in the face and telling his tale when he comes home. I'm like,
yeah, you got
there we go, right?
You got
that. That was like my highlight of going through it. Like I got the name.
That's a good win. That's a good win.
And then when I got this collection, I started. He even had his like graduation booklet, which again, to everyone that ever listens to this, hoarders are a historian's best friend. He has his like company graduation pamphlet. And in his thing, he wrote, yeah, we had Sergeant Jones. Well, that name is a million.
There's a billion.
But I open up his unit, and he's got underlined his platoon sergeant, Henry Jones. And I'm like, there we go. And he wrote in the memoir, his Jones was killed on this island when he got transferred. And so I checked that name, checked the casualty list, and sure enough, the dates match. That's Sergeant Jones. But like, if I didn't have that pamphlet, there was no way in hell I was going to figure out who Platoon Sergeant Jones was.
Well, it sounds like you're getting a lot of wins on this.
Oh yeah, and once I did that and I've got the names, I've been contacting like families, and I've gotten wins from families that are like, oh yeah, my dad, he was the radio man. Yeah, here's some photos, here's some documents. Or one of the families, the brother sent me. He's like, oh yeah, by the way, I found this in Dad's paperwork, and it was a letter written by one of the other Marines after his dad passed away, saying, hey, I loved your dad. And then he starts telling stories from like Roy and Saipan, what happened to him.
And this letter just sat there?
Yeah. And he's like, I thought you might find this interesting, and then sent it to me. I'm like, what the fuck? Yes, I want this.
Yes, of course.
This is great. And it confirms some of the other stories that have been told.
The cross-referencing. Yeah. You have to do that, but it sounds like you're getting a lot of wins on this one.
Oh yeah. Well, and I'm sure I'll get more from the families, and then the letters have a lot of good info, which is really cool for just thinking of like writing something. Because it's always that filler, like how do you fill the space? And so some of these letters, they tell me exactly how I'm going to end a chapter and start another one. But he writes things home like, we just found out about the invasion in France. Hopefully this war ends soon. There's like a whole page, so I can talk about that. The Marines are getting information about D-Day, or they're he's writing is like, these Japs are savages, and just like writes this whole thing about how much he hates this war and he hates war in general. And so you can fill in those gaps with like discussions on how he's feeling based on what he's writing home.
That's so fucking cool, man. I'm glad it's going so well because. Yeah, I mean, a lot of times, like, historians, it's like beating their head against a fucking brick wall. They can't find certain shit. But if you're getting these kind of wins, of like, oh, I can correlate this with this person and get this person recognized, this and that, and blah blah blah, and then be able to write a book about it and compile it. That's awesome, dude. I'm really happy for you.
And then I get these yearbooks, and I realize today as I'm going through, I'm like, I've got photographs now of at least half the men in this book. Like they're photographed in uniform. So now I'm going to scan every page, and now I can put their photos, with these stories.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's only half the stuff. I still have another family to go visit to see what
I know.
they
That's
have.
what I mean. Like when you're sitting there, when you were posting the pictures of the P41s and the second patterns and all that shit, but you also had posted the pictures before.
Mm-hmm.
We're like, that's how it's good to know nerd friends like us, because now you know like what what the unit markings were, the rank and whatever and all that shit. It makes sense. It's just another piece. It's another win, and it's like, okay, we know all that shit. You cannot be distracted by that. You cannot possibly know all the shit that we know.
No,
we can't possibly know all the shit that you know and be able to extract a story. So we all work very well together. I'm really glad we met, because it's like you post that shit, we're sitting there nerdgasming. We're like,
I know exactly what all those are.
Yeah, like y'all are I know I'm doing it at the museum. Like, no, this is a great fucking exhibit, but like I don't think about these artifacts as like,
oh yeah,
what they are. I'm thinking like, how can I use this in the museum? And then y'all are having your own little nerdgasm.
Oh yeah,
holy shit, these are.
How the fuck did this survive?
This exists. Yeah.
And they're in like pristine condition because they've been in dry cleaning bags since 1987. So it's like the whole thing comes together. And even the brother, they're like, yeah, we've got Dad's 45, and then you zoom in on that photo I sent you. There's the 45 he's wearing on Ewo, right? So now it's like I can put that with the photo.
See, me, I'd be the cynic in this case because I made videos on this, and you know this. Was it a 45 he bought after he got back, or because it's very hard to take property back?
True.
It always has been. It's not impossible at all.
No, you can do it, but most of them, when they're like, this is my grandfather's gun. I'm like, well, it has.
I've requested his service file, and sometimes the service file will have the equipment
serial number. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I've requested it. It's going to come to me in a few weeks, and then I'll have hopefully the service number for the pistol he had, and then I'll cross-reference that with the pistol they give me.
Exactly.
Because they have two of them. And he says they don't know which one's which because they had a great uncle who was a Marine MP in France in World War I. So they like one of them was his and one of them's Dad's. We don't know which is which.
Well, do you have pictures of them currently?
No, not yet.
Okay.
I'm waiting.
One of them will be an A1 and one will be a 1911. Probably.
Most likely, but my 1911 was refurbished in World War II, but never upgraded to A1. So there's no way of really knowing.
They wouldn't have kept making. But like, here's the thing: the A1 did exist in World War I.
At the very, very, very end.
Yeah, but they wouldn't have gone to the States. They wouldn't have gone overseas. They would have just. They had more 1911s than they knew what to do with.
Yeah, that's the thing is like cross-referencing. If you can get the hand receipts.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. If I get the hand receipt and then confirm it, I'll say it. If not, I do know they've got a Jap rifle he captured, and I have it in a letter. He's like, yes, I'm bringing home a sword and a rifle and a flag. I know the flag's gone, but the family still has the rifle and the sword.
So I'll be able to, you send us pics in that group again, and we'll be able to tell you exactly what series the rifle is and everything. And like, because I believe that because I've got weapons that were captured in the South Pacific, and it's, what they usually did, though, from my understanding, is they would grab their rifle, and then when they were on the troop ships back, they would say, okay, before you get on here, if you're bringing a rifle home, take the bolt,
take the bolt out. Pile. Yeah, I've got a Japanese rifle in our collection. The claim was it was captured on Ewo. We can't confirm it. But one of the guys, oddly enough, he works in IT, but he's got a master's in like conflict archaeology, and he's an expert on on Japanese weapons. Perfect. And so he came over and he like takes it, pops it out, all matching serial numbers except for the bolt. And that's exactly what he told us is they all had to take their bolts out, throw them in a bucket. And then when they got back, they were just like, here's a bolt, here's a bolt, here's
Get
a
off
bolt,
the boat, here's a bolt, here's a bolt.
Yeah. And so he said this always happens. And that's how you can almost confirm it is a captured weapon.
Yeah.
Because the bolt will be wrong.
Yeah, they did it with K98s in Europe too. Like guys,
most of the Russian ones were the same way. They took all the bolts out of them to make sure that they would be safe for transport, and then when they put them all back together, the bolts always
Well, Sam, we have a K98 that was donated with an 82nd Division grouping, all matching, even the bolt.
And here's the thing: is there's a reason those command such a premium is because those guys were on a boat that did not have that SOP.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I've got a full original K98 captured by this 82nd Division guy.
Yeah, and if do you have the info on like the markings and all that shit, or do you need that?
I can send it to you. I know we looked at it a little bit. He captured it.
Send it in the group. Yeah, send it in the group, and then we'll be able to tell you. All of us combined will be able to tell you exactly what it is, when it was made, how correct it is, and all that shit. You know, for this feature for this year and whatever. If it was upgraded, we'll be able to tell you all that shit.
And the cool thing about getting the sword is, all you have to do is take the handle off, which is easy because it's 2 wood pins. It will have exactly who made it, when it was made, and
and that I'm really excited to do. Yeah. The sword's going to be a little harder to get. The family, he said, yeah, you can have it, but he's not willing to let go of it just yet. So like, that one's a little later. I understand it completely.
Oh yeah, God, yeah, that's a cool souvenir. Yeah.
I mean, overall, the way we're going to do it is, since we have this trunk and the trunk is beautiful. Did I send it in the group?
No. Okay, and Devin's not in that group, but just throw it in the Friday Night Shite group.
Okay, let me throw it in real quick, and then you can pull it up. And then I'm going to skedaddle in 10 minutes. I got to go pick up a friend.
All right, sounds good.
Hang on, let me send you the beautiful photo I used to make all my Marines jealous. Okay,
hurry up.
I sent it in.
Oh, God damn. Let me save this quick and I'll
heck yeah.
pull it up.
That's fucking awesome.
That's funny. I was just gonna say those exact words.
And the trunk is also got all the stamps.
Exactly.
From 331, which means Roy, Saipan, and Tinian. So that one's been through the whole war. Right? So, I mean, what you don't see is you've got the trunk, which is beautiful. And then those bags on top, those are his dungarees, then his khakis, then his dress uniform. And then you've got yearbooks, Marine histories, boxes of letters and photos. And then the trunk is still full of all sorts of stuff. So what we'll do is put the uniform on display and then put the trunk in the case with it, and then fill the top of the trunk with like some dungarees hanging over the side and some items in it. But that trunk's way too beautiful not to display.
Exactly. That's an excellent piece of history.
All right. Isn't it beautiful? It's just so clean.
It's in fantastic shape. And that thing.
I like the people that too are watching this that don't understand. They're like, it's a fucking box.
Yeah.
It's a fucking box that is a war veteran. All right. Yeah. That trunk has been on all of those islands.
Yep. Yeah, that's fucking awesome. I'm so glad you were able to do that and get it put in a museum instead of just in somebody's attic. And then
I spent 7 hours with the daughter that day talking about her dad, and then I had to carry all of that down from the 3rd floor.
Damn. Worth it.
Yeah. 100%. I was so happy leaving there, and then I still talk to her. She keeps finding shit. She found his original duffel bag he carried during the invasion.
Duffel bag or
hang on, I'll send you a photo. You know the word. I don't know what.
This is where it's good to know people, James.
Yep. Shut the fuck up and look at the photos.
You got it. Come on, load, you fucking. What in the shit?
Steven went nuts over it. Said it was very rare.
That's the early ones. Those are like an officer's bag for.
That's what I was just gonna say. Like,
it's like a briefcase essentially. Yeah.
Holy fuck!
You would normally keep your important stuff in there. Extra copies of forms you needed to do and have, pens, ink, stuff like that.
Let me share this. I'm sorry, I was just like looking at it and examining it. Let me.
It's a briefcase and it has a bunch of pockets for forms that you would commonly use as an officer. They would keep copies of their forms, your casualty reports, stuff like that. A lot of these forms, and you would keep pens and other stuff in there. So,
but I guess a rare item then to find, even with the stencils, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh God, yeah. Anything marked with that it was definitely in a combat zone.
And one of the really cool things about it, because the Marines never had like a pattern of their own for those, because all of the Marine stuff was made without white metal, and that has steel buckles, so that's actually an army bag.
Oh.
So.
Well, yeah, that's with a headquarters company, which he was. So.
That's so cool.
That is cool.
Right? It's just crazy stuff.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. Don's watching, by the way, James. So he's wondering what project you're working on. It's like, Don, you're going to have to go back and rewatch this afterwards.
Yeah.
You're on your own, bud.
Oh, Lord. Well, with that, I'm going to run and go pick them up. So.
Heck yeah.
Appreciate it.
Have a good Friday night, man. Thanks for showing
up.
up.
Saw that.
I'll see y'all later.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Nerding out over shit.
Don't worry. We'll nerd out some more as I find more stuff.
Good.
Oh, God, yeah. All right. Later, man.
All right. I'll see y'all.
Bye.
Heck yeah. That's fucking
Isn't that fucking awesome?
That's fucking cool. So I like stuff from the Pacific Theater.
Yeah, and he just stumbled upon this thing. Like everybody else just was like walking by it, and then one day he picks it up and he goes, "Oh shit."
Yeah.
And then just starts like researching it, and then finds the families, and they're like, "Well, we have all of his stuff." Well, you do?
It's just cool because like I never got into like Europe because everybody was into Europe, and then there were so many people that are like the island hopping campaign. But I started out liking the Pacific, getting into the mainland campaign for Japan.
In China?
Yeah, well, China, Burma, Laos, India.
Yeah.
You know, like all that stuff, even into Vietnam, all that jazz. That's where I started learning about the Pacific. And then obviously, once you start to exhaust resources there because it's the worst documented theater, you get into the island hopping campaign, which is cool.
It's interesting, but it's very hard to keep track of.
Yeah.
Unless you're like really consistently able to like pay attention to a timeline. Like I can, for Europe, I can do like the general timeline. Like if somebody says a campaign, I can be like, oh, that was this year.
Yeah.
For the Pacific, I'm still learning about it. And I don't know enough about it to be able to
like the island campaign stuff, it was like well documented, and that was all kept because obviously America was involved. The problem with the mainland campaign is all of those countries have gone through government changes and revolutions, and
a lot of shit got destroyed.
Shit's gone. So it's like what you have is you're piecing together a lot like what he's doing. You're piecing together like prisoner records and diaries of people and things like that of what happened because there isn't any official documentation from it.
They're technically primary sources, but at a certain point, it's like, well, you can't really distinguish exactly what happened.
No, and and that the shitty thing about the Overland campaign is that so many people didn't have access to do stuff because it was an aggressive campaign. It wasn't like the island campaign where people got there and just fortified. It was pretty fluid. And,
Yep.
And
there's so many people, so many parties involved,
and so many countries and other stuff, and people doing things, and then all this other stuff, and these regime changes going on, and these revolutions, and all this guerrilla fighting, and just no access to equipment and stuff, and people didn't write about it, and when they did, which is most of the stuff we have on the mainland campaign is actually from captured British soldiers and Indian troops.
Yep.
But even then, it's still not great because there's not a lot of stuff being translated on the Indian side.
Well, it's interesting too with the Chinese aspect of it. You had the communists and nationalists kind of like working together at some points, which is very interesting.
But
there was a lot
trying to undercut each other.
But they're like, we're not actively going to fight each other for the most part right now. We're not friends, so fuck off. Staying on the playground. We're not going to help
you, but we're not going to try to hurt you either.
Right. We're fighting the same enemy, right? And once that's done, then 1946 and 47 roll around, and it's just back to what they were doing. But during World War II, it was like these two, battling factions, these rival factions, are working together, and they're just not doing well. They're
No.
trying to get supply. They got a lot of German stuff, oddly enough.
Yep.
The nationalists got a lot of German stuff, and they
Well, they
still
bought
just.
it in the interwar.
I know they did, but like they were also getting helmets and shit in the 30s.
Yeah, well,
And so,
that's when it started too. Like that's the other thing. The Overland campaign starts in 33
I know. Yep.
and goes until 45.
And so I'm recently thinking about changing my opinion. I was listening to Dan Carlin's
The supernova in the
Supernova in the
East.
East. Yep. And he said something that kind of made me think. I mean, he says a lot of things like that, but he was like, when did World War II start? And everybody's like, September 1st, 1939.
33.
I'm beginning to think it started in 33.
I've been a big projector of it's been in 33 for a long time, but that's just was my historical interest was all of that. The Overland campaign in World War II on the Japanese side. It's like it's one of the few places where it's like you get Americans, you get spies, you get communists, you get nationalists, you get all of these countries, you get British, Australians, Indians. In the end, the Russians come in, the Mongolian army comes in, like all this stuff. You get a big mismatch altogether. So
yeah, it's so complex. Because here's the thing: is Europe, even with the Eastern Front considered, as far as geographical mass, the European, the MTL campaign, everything, the African campaign, pales in comparison as far as the extent of people affected, countries affected, geographically, that the Pacific, the entirety of the Pacific campaign entailed.
It wasn't. There's plenty of like the early war well documented massacres. It wasn't uncommon for a battle to lose 600,000 people.
Right.
And it's
then,
like find that again in Europe outside of the few couple examples like Stalingrad
or Kursk.
Yeah, and it's like in China, it's just a random city, and then they moved on next week and did it again, and again, and again. Over and over and over again.
It was like I was listening to that shit while I was sewing helmet covers, and man, that Supernova in the East, I was like, because I had an idea that things were going on. Like it wasn't like I was blind to that fact.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize how absolutely early and complex these stories were.
It gets so overshadowed because, like, historically, for World War II stuff, you have two really good, easy to follow sources. You have where the British went, and you have where the Americans went. If you have places that don't have that, you don't get usually the best documentation. The Germans did really good documenting stuff, but after 2 world wars and a split division of stuff, after the Second World War, you lose a lot of that. But they still had good sources. But you don't have great Soviet sources. You don't have good Chinese sources. There's no good Japanese sources. There's no good Thai sources, Vietnamese sources.
Laotian,
You don't have any of that in the Overland campaign. So
yeah, and that's the problem, and it's trying to unpack what exactly went down to the best of
massacre
our
after
ability.
massacre.
And it's the brutality too.
Yeah,
not just the Japanese, mind you.
Well, here's the thing: they both massacred civilians,
everybody,
and everything. Like that was literally total war. That whole Overland.
It was just an absolute. I mean, millions of people died there, but that's really not factored into the casualty count of World War II.
No,
it's always
not.
But island hopping and the European campaign.
It's the single deadliest place in World War II is China.
Yep, but that's assuming that you count World War II as starting in 1933.
Yeah,
but if you don't, that's why it's not counted. It's counted from
if you count it from 39 to 45, it's still
it's staggering.
Millions.
It's staggering.
Yeah,
and
it's like the amount of loss of life that happened there. It's just appalling.
Yeah, it's absolutely. It's just you can't even comprehend it.
Yeah, and you get so much cool stuff. Like you said, you get the Siamese Mausers. You get all the World War I German stuff.
Well, though the Siamese Mausers were actually like the early 1900s.
Yeah, you get but like that's still their standard World War II gun was the Siamese Mauser.
Yeah, the Thai.
Yeah, the Thais. Yeah. And then, but like then you also have the Vietnamese using French equipment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's China,
Yeah,
it's a colony. But
yeah,
France get their troops there are like, well, we're fucked.
but they're
What do we
using
do?
like Berthier's.
No, I know Berthier's, Lebel, yeah,
Yeah,
like
just like tons of
carbines,
stuff,
yeah,
and the neat mashup of stuff that you can find there in tons of things. It's just awesome.
yeah. It's really cool. It's, I mean, cool to look back on it because we didn't have to experience it.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah,
just
I
like
mean,
that everything. They talk about a lot of the European battles that, like, the total Americans killed during World War II. It's, people look at it as like it's a huge number, and it's like
it's less than one battle that took place
that's
in the
a
mainland.
third of one small town
Yep.
in the Chinese campaign.
And it's still a lot of people.
Yeah, but it's like
But
it wasn't uncommon. Like I said, for like when they invaded like Singapore,
yeah,
you
just
know, gone. That's 1 million people. Bam.
yep, right there.
Yeah, and that's one city.
Yeah, it's absolutely fucking nuts.
So it's scary to see all that stuff and how every country reacted to it a little different. And it's just like I wish there was more written about it, because I feel like more people would appreciate it if it had better stuff. But which makes it so glad that when James is doing his project, to kind of bring it back, that he does
Yeah.
have access to all this documentation and he can link all this crap up, and it is working out for him.
James won't write something unless he can confirm it at all.
Yeah, it's super cool that he has all of these first-hand sources to like
And corroborate each other's
Yeah.
stories and everything
to
like
get
that.
all of this shit, which is awesome.
Yep. Because it is pretty, I mean, yeah, it's been 80 years, but it's also still very close. Like, you think about it,
Well, in the
three
grand
generations,
scheme of things,
80 years is
8 years
nothing.
isn't that not much. Yeah,
Yeah. I'm going to take, you want to take a piss break?
sure. I got to
Yeah,
get my pen off the accordion. So
That's a
they
big
know
cat.
they're not supposed to sit on the accordion because the box is all old and musty. So it's like
Oh, yeah.
airing out in the room where I don't let the cats unless I'm in here, and then they all fucking go try to sit on the accordion. So.
Fuck them. All right, I'm going to take a piss break.
Sounds good.
All right, Poopaloop, come here.
Well, it's just me now. So hello, everybody lurking in the comments still. I can't tell how many of you there are, but hello. I'm so excited to go shooting tomorrow. I'm taking some people out shooting tomorrow that have never gone shooting before, and we're gonna go shoot some handguns. So I'm excited for that. It's gonna be good. Yeah. So like in early Vietnam, you actually find really early days of Vietnam. We're talking like the 50s. A lot of the Vietnamese equipment they were using was actually German that they got from China. Um, and like obviously like the Chinese nationalists had a lot of like German equipment and stuff like that. And then obviously it was French into China. So there was a ton of French equipment, and German equipment was pretty much what they had very early on, until obviously they started to get aid from the national, like obviously the communist Chinese dumping a bunch of AKs and SKSs and stuff into the country. Yeah, but in the 50s they were using primarily French stuff, primarily French and German. Nobody's been peeking in here. Just the kitty cats coming through. Just the kitties coming in. That's all. But yeah, neat stuff when you learn about all the mashup of everything. And then like the Chinese made their own guns too. They made like copies of the Mauser C96 that would have like huge magazines and be fully automatic and be in weird calibers and stuff like that. And it takes a lot to scare me. There's not really a whole lot out there. But yeah, just the amount of stuff you get them using like Gewehr 88s in China and stuff. It's cool.
Okay. Would you do a military video about gear from Spain? I have. I've covered both of their camouflage, their desert, and their woodland camouflage patterns.
And a lot of their helmets.
A lot of their helmets. So yeah, I've definitely done that. Again, it's like people are like, "Can you do a video on this?" Like, go through my channel, dude. Just type in Spanish, you'll see it.
Mm-hmm. It happens.
Yep. But it's like, I get that comment almost daily. Like, can you make a video on this? It's like, done.
Yep. It happens a lot too.
Yep.
The other one that I get really upset is like, where can I get one? It's like, well, it took me 10 years to find one. So
I usually don't even answer that question.
Yep.
Like, it's like, where did you get it? I'm like, I don't like an impression, especially. I'm like, from all over. Like,
yeah.
It took me freaking 10 years to get my French absolutely basic French 1915-16 impression together.
Mm-hmm.
10 years. And I got it. I had to get it piecemeal. You know, things here, things there. And
that's like how my Austrian impression went. I've been wanting to do that since I was like a teenager.
Right.
You know, I'm almost 30.
It's tough. Yeah.
So
yeah, that's just I don't like those generic questions. I've made videos on that too, which is ironic because it's like if you're gonna ask a question, have it be very specific. Where did you get the putties, or where did you get the tunic? Where'd you get the helmet? You know, stuff like that. Like, be specific. Don't just say where'd you get everything. It's like I don't have the time to type out the fucking paragraph and remember.
A lot of it is like when I have something like super rare, and they're like, "Where'd you get it?" Most of the time, I've had some of the shit for so long though that I can't tell you.
Me too. That's what I mean. Like, you know, 10 years for acquiring everything
like,
for
a French impression. Like, catalogs, yard sales, estate sales, antique shows, shit like that I've gone to. How much stuff I bought off different various websites, I can't.
Word of mouth, it's like one person just happens to have it on Facebook, you know, 10 years ago. It's like,
okay. The amount of stuff where it comes up at a gun show and I'm like, take my money.
Yeah. And it's just it's a lot of it's luck of the draw. You got to know what you're looking for too. That's the thing is when you know what you're looking for and you see it, you go, all right.
I've had money squirreled away for this.
Yep.
Like a lot of my Russian stuff. Like now everyone's asking me where I got all my Russian stuff. I'm like, I bought it back when we could get it. Now you can't.
Oh, me too. I've got a fair amount of Russian shit, and it's like now you can't. And
now it's skyrocketed in value. It's worth a fortune. Shit that I was like, wow, that was expensive at the time when it was like $150, and now it's like that'll sell for $800.
Yep. Yeah, it's fucking insane. But yeah, I mean that's the thing is I'm offloading a bunch of helmets from my helmet collection. I have to.
Yeah,
and
I get it. I did the same thing a couple of years ago.
Yep, and just gotta thin it out and be more specialized. But I pretty much got most helmets that I mean, I got that Fadain helmet was like literally one of my life goals to get, and I've got one, and it's like,
do I need it?
Where do we go from here? No, I need it. I'm not getting rid of it because it's like fewer than 100 people I think have those.
Yeah, they're pretty rare.
And it's like, yeah, I mean,
I got one that's really rare that I've tried to sell, but nobody's interested in it because there's just not that many of them. I have World War II Italian paratrooper helmet.
Yeah.
An original one. Nobody's reproduced those. They don't exist. They're super comfortable. I have one. And I had a couple people interested in like buyers that fallen through, and I still have it. It's just sitting right up there. Can't
That
get
might
rid of
be
it.
one.
It's not something I want because I'm not an Italian collector. I got it for a good deal back in the day. I actually remember I bought it at an auction off of Italian eBay while I was on vacation in Florida.
Well, hang on to it because eventually someday that'd be something I'm interested in because I think the Italians had the best helmet of World War II.
Yeah, probably.
I just
And you would
straight
really
up.
like this one because it's similar in a lot of ways.
I know, yeah. It's just right now I need to free up a bunch of space and kind of get my shit in order a little bit. But hey, if it's not selling, and it's there, we'll go
Yep.
from there.
It's not going
But
anywhere. That's for sure.
yeah,
I
no,
haven't
it's
had
cool. But I'm selling a couple helmets that it hurts to sell, but I know they're going to good homes.
I did the same thing. There was some that it's like, gosh, this was such a struggle to get, but I'm like, I'm just not.
You
I
just can't.
don't.
Yeah.
I'm never gonna develop this into something in my collection. I
Yep.
even did the same with all my guns. Every single gun back there is Canadian, Austrian, or Finnish.
Yep.
I really like all three of those countries. That's pretty much what I focused my collection to.
Yep.
And so I had a ton of Italian helmets I got rid of. I had not that many German helmets, a couple German helmets I got rid of. Stuff like that. Just
Yeah, I mean it goes like that when you're collecting. It's like some years you're like, I have too much shit. Like
mhm.
I literally don't have room for anything else that I get. This is a problem. Let's focus on something. Let's narrow it down a bit.
100%. It's like I intend to have impressions for every single one of those guns. I have a Canadian impression. It's right there. I
Yep.
have an Austro-Hungarian impression. It's in
Yep.
that closet.
Yep.
I have most of a Finnish impression. It's just really hard to find certain pieces, but I'm tracking it down.
Yep. Yeah, I mean that's the thing too, is like
So everything that I have now can go with all of those impressions.
yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, is like I'm gonna narrow it down. I was talking to a friend of mine and then he's like, yeah, I have 10 guns.
Yeah.
And I'm like, cool. And I have way more than that. And it's like, I need to offload a lot of these that I'm never going to shoot. I don't really
Mhm.
care about. It's like,
Like I
I
tell
know.
people all the time, like I've had so many guns that have come by, and I bought guns that I got for a good deal that I knew I was just going to sell later.
Mhm.
But it's like my gun collection list between like handguns, rifles, and everything I want, like historically, is only like 25 guns, and like 10 of those I'm never going to see.
Right.
Like they're there because I know they exist and I have seen them come up before, but I'm like, I'm never going to pay that amount of money for that.
Right.
So,
And it's like when you're in a position where you can,
mhm,
then it's time.
mhm.
But
It's like,
now is not the time. It's like,
no, and it's like that's one safe. That's a medium-sized safe full of guns. That's all I need. So, I'm I'm not going to complain about it. And I got all the accessories for them all, So,
yeah, no, I get that too. And it's just like, at some point,
shallow
like,
collection but deep.
exactly. Yeah. And at some point, I just realized that one of the ways I just dealt with, stress and everything is just to buy shit and then,
Mhm.
get that dopamine hit for like a day or two. And then I just throw it on a shelf or whatever.
Yep.
And I'm like, to an extent, yeah, I mean, it's pretty common, but it's
Yeah.
like, why am I hanging on to this thing that somebody else would like a lot more and like actually appreciate?
I
Because
can really appreciate.
there's things in my collection where I'm like, I fucking love this thing, and I'll
Mhm.
talk about it. I'll talk your fucking ear off about it forever.
Exactly.
It's like,
I get
I
it.
fucking love it, and it's just so
Mhm.
nice, and it's cool, and but
Just do a narrow collection, but make it deep instead of
what I had,
wide
yeah,
and
what I had to
barely
do
scraping
is
the surface.
I went through the helmets, and I was like, I looked at each one, and the question I literally just asked myself rapid fire was, does this bring me joy? And if the answer was no, I grabbed it off the shelf. It doesn't mean it's a bad piece because there's a
No.
lot of good pieces. It's
Yeah.
just like, does this actually bring me joy?
Well, I was looking at all the stuff you listed, and I was like, "There's a lot of," and like your prices aren't bad on a lot of stuff, given the current market for everything.
Right.
Like that's a lot of that's pretty fair prices, and there's some good gems in there.
Yeah. And it's like, but if it's not going to bring me joy and it can bring somebody else joy and, complete somebody else's collection, if they, collect Austro-Hungarian World War One shit, that
I wish
helmet
I had
is,
the money to buy that helmet. I
I
do
know,
because it's in my size, even. But
it's a fucking, that's a good piece, but it's like, dude, I got one years back. You know that one that I'm talking about, a size 68.
Your size, yep.
And yes, it was reenactor fucked up on the outside, and I needed a new liner and everything. Got that, but I'm like, that one has sentimental because the guy I got it from, he's dead now, but he was an awesome person. Gave me one hell of a deal on that in my first German M16, and it's like, I've already got one, and the one that I have that I'm selling currently, it's original, but I think the pads are replacements, but the band is original. You can tell it's just
Yeah.
you can't really fake that abuse. And if the pads are original, that's the best fucking shape I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But they're dirty as shit, so I would assume like, but
Well,
anyway.
it's also like the Austrians literally used it until Germany invaded in World War II. Like,
No, I know that, and then that's the thing is like, so it could have been an actual factory replace or a depot replacement.
yeah, like
Of the
it's probably
pads.
a legit.
No, because they look
Pads are-
legit. They look legit, but like,
Well, I'm sure the pads aren't original to World War One. They're probably a post-war
no, interwar. But like, that's why I just sold it as, I don't know if the pads are replacements, whether that's repro or whatnot. But like the band, I know is original. You can't fake that, the dents and everything.
Yeah.
And the way the split pins are so welded to it,
Yeah.
And I'm like, so basically, and the chin strap is, that's the thing that like baffles the shit out of me, is like, out of all these things, that chin strap survived.
Yeah.
It's very hard to
Canvas
find
ones
those.
did pretty good actually. So
The what?
the canvas ones that the Austrians put on did pretty good actually.
Well, they're thick.
Yeah.
They're like GI belt webbing.
Well, yeah, that's exactly why they hold up. There's so much like belt webbing that holds up with age a lot
with
better
leather
than
reinforcements. Yeah. And it's
So,
like, but I didn't want to list that one. But again, I'm like, this particular one I just bought because it's original. Maybe someday I'll get an original one again, but right now it doesn't bring me joy.
Yep.
Right now at this point in my life, it's like, nope. And so that's why I'm doing that. And then I'm selling my one of my German it's an M17 configuration.
Yeah.
The repro one with the ersatz chin strap. I was like, I like this helmet, but I've got an M16 and I've got an original M17. You've seen that one.
Yeah, you're
the
immaculate.
immaculate one. And I'm like, somebody else needs one of these in their collection.
Yep.
And to have, and it's fucking awesome because like when I restored Nate's that he got his shell.
Yeah.
And he got it and he's like, that's fucking awesome. And I was like, yeah, it's great. But I again, does it bring me joy, this particular one? My M16 does. That's why I'm keeping that.
And that's then your original M17, that's immaculate.
It does keep me joy. Yep, bring me joy. But it's the kind of questions you have to ask, is like, with things in particular. And it's like, I'm not selling them at stupid. It's like, that's like a little bit below average retail for the
like
examples.
Those are their prices for all that stuff. Yeah.
Yep. And it's like, I need to clear out, and I've cleared out some space, and I'm going to be doing that with guns too eventually.
Yep.
But
I get it. At least like I got into the gun collecting late enough to where I had to be really careful with the money and really know what I want before I bought it. So, whereas like you got in when you could still get stuff for pretty cheap.
And I put myself into debt, got out of it, got back in, got out. It's like a cycle, And but no, I'm glad I got to, again, with the guns, it's going to be like, does this bring me joy? If it doesn't, it's going to somebody who it does bring joy to.
Yep, I get it.
And yeah, it's just it's kind of a relieving feeling because you know how much shit I have. You've been here, like, it's like, I don't fucking need all this shit, and I want to be able to A, share it with the world, B, declutter my life, and
also like now it's an investment because you bought it all when it was cheaper. And you're selling it off now.
But I'm not gonna fuck people. That's the thing.
Well, obviously, you've always been pretty fair with stuff like that. So.
Yep, and so it's just one of those things. I got a fucking, I don't know if it's a hair or wax in my left ear, but it's been driving me fucking nuts today. Just itching.
Yeah, I got one of those cool trimmers, so I can do up my ears and my nose real easy.
Well, but I don't know if it's hair or wax, and it's probably not wax, but. Yeah, whatever. It's just it's like annoying once in a while when you're talking and like your ear canal moves.
Slightly.
Yeah, and it's like it itches, but
Yeah,
such is life.
I get
But
it.
yeah, I mean, it's cool to like, be able to thin down what I've acquired over the past 25 years,
Yeah,
if we're being honest.
I get it. And it's like, there's stuff that I want to get on my list that are like one thing I've always really wanted. I'm so glad that like Henry makes it. I always wanted one of the old like turn of the century pump action 22s.
Yes, I have one of I have one of those, right?
No, I don't know you have one of those.
I've got a Winchester model, I think 90. The fuck is it? A 92? It's no, hold on.
It's the 1898, the
98,
octagonal
yeah.
barrel.
It's a
Yeah.
pump action and it'll fire short, long, and long rifle.
Okay. Then it's later.
It's it's a 1912. That's what it is. It's a
Yeah,
1912.
because I want one. I wanted so the Colt made the Lightning,
Yep, the
which
little
was
guy.
only in 22 Winchester rimmed or whatever,
Mhm.
which is longer than long rifle, but not quite Magnum. And its dimensions aren't right, so you actually can't shoot 22 long rifle in it because the pressures are different.
Yeah.
And then Winchester made the 1898 with the octagonal barrel, and then Henry started making what is essentially a copy of the 1898, and you can get them for like $500.
Let me go see what actual model this is. It's driving me nuts.
Sure.
I'm not
It's
going to
probably
show
like
it.
a 1906 or 12, yeah.
No, it might be a 6. Yeah, hold on.
Well, that's the thing. People don't really do sporterizations that much anymore, because you can get a better hunting rifle than that gun sporterized for cheaper. Like sporterizing guns was a pretty popular thing up until about 10 years ago, and then now you just can't. I have no idea how much longer we're going to go, but it costs more to sporterize a rifle that won't be as accurate as going out and buying a fucking Savage X2. So
All right. So yeah, it is an 06 and it was made in 1912. That's where I got
yep,
confused.
I kind of figured it wasn't in 1898.
No. Yeah, because yeah. But here's the problem: is I went out and shot it,
Yeah,
and the chamber is completely and utterly fucked. The whole barrel needs to be replaced.
well, cool thing about that is they made a revised model in 1962 that's almost the same thing. And you could probably screw a 62 barrel, which you can still get parts for, onto that.
That'd be cool because this thing is well, but the 62, does that also fire short, long, and long rifle?
Yes.
Okay. I've been looking for somebody like, it's not like a priority because I
Yeah.
mean I got this thing for a fucking steal because I bought it sight unseen, whatever,
Yep.
rolled the dice. I mean, it fires, but the bore is fucked. Like this thing's
Yeah.
probably had millions of rounds through it, right?
Yeah. Well, as old as it is, and it's one of those things where like everyone had around. You know what I mean? That's true. Or because most of those 22s, the barrels were so big, you could just pay somebody to re-sleeve it.
Yeah, I could, because it would be cool to have the original barrel on it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I always
it's
wanted a Colt Lightning. I'll never see one of those. And the problem with the Winchester 1898 is you have to buy that specific 22 ammo, and it's much more expensive.
right. Well,
than
that's why I
like
love this one. It's like you can literally run all three, and you could also put
yeah,
them in the tube together, and it'll
yeah,
feed. Like just fine. I love the fucking gun.
for
I
sure.
love
And
the
that's why
action.
I want to get one. I'm like, that's one of those things. It's like everyone talks about like the iconic American guns, like the Springfield Trapdoor, the 1866 Winchester lever action, and the Colt Peacemaker, the 1873. And it's like, but people don't realize it's like this was one of Winchester's best-selling fucking guns when it came out. The Winchester Model 1898. And it's just a pretty looking gun, you know.
Yeah, I know. those 22s, like I bought this thing. I'm not gonna say how much I paid for it because it's ridiculous. I'll tell you off air, but like it I don't want to sell this one. And it just
Yeah.
something's like hang on to it because I want to get it re-sleeved or rebarreled.
Yeah.
And I because the action itself is fucking amazing. It also
Yeah.
doesn't have the corn cob, the textured
Yeah.
pump. It's got just the smooth one. It's an early one.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
And dude, it's the action itself is amazing. And it holds, I think, like 14.
I was gonna say that's why I want one. I'm like, that's like
Yeah.
of all the guns that were like made in America that like I could want, like awesome. I would love to have an International Harvester M1 Grand and then a Winchester 1898 pump action 22.
Yeah.
Those are the two highest American guns on my list.
Well, I don't know why I like Winchester too. Like, because I have a Winchester M1 rifle, I have a Winchester 1917 rifle.
Well, if I couldn't get an International Harvester, Winchester would be the second M1 Grand I would want.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's just like it's just a weird thing. There's no reason. They're not made any better or worse.
No, I just like that company.
Yeah, me too. And it's like that's why I like my M1 and my 1917 rifle. And
I love my P14, and that was made by Winchester.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. So you've got we've got crossover there, like because I've got the 17 that's made by Winchester. Have you shot mine?
Yeah. We shot it with that.
Oh yeah, up at the range.
Yeah.
Yep, up the range. Yep. Yeah, it's a fucking beast.
It is, and it's
awesome.
a fucking fantastic gun, and it's like that's why I love my P14. The action's super nice on it.
Yep. Oh man, again, it's one of my favorite military bolt action rifles.
I mean, it's a heavy bitch used in both world wars. Like, come on.
And Korea and Vietnam.
Yeah.
And post that. Yeah. I mean, they're just like if you want a strong, reliable, beefy bolt action rifle, that is it. The P14 and the 1917 service rifle.
Yeah, you can't break the sights on them. You can't.
No, you'd be hard fucking pressed to fuck up one of these things. I mean, like you'd have to really try because they're just.
I love it. I love that. Yeah. I've killed a lot of stuff with that P14. So.
Yep. Yeah, that's the thing is like, it's
But I specifically went out of my way to get a Winchester one, and it's like they made the lowest number of them, but
the P14s, it's funny because like the 1917s, they made the least number, and they also most of them didn't ever go overseas. So I don't think mine ever left the States. But... Yeah, I know yours did, but like mine never left the States, I don't think.
Yeah, mine ended up being made the last year Winchester made them, so it was made in 1916, and it was shipped over to the UK where it was made up by Holland & Holland into a sniper rifle, and then in the 30s it went through the Whedon repair standard, and they threw an Eddystone stock on it and ground the scope off because they were brazed on, and turned it into just a regular Home Guard rifle, and it was used in the Home Guard through the whole Second World War, and then it was eventually surplus. Then I bought it. It was like, can you imagine that fucker sitting there in the Home Guard, not realizing how fucking accurate his rifle was to be handpicked at the factory for this,
Yep.
And not realizing it the whole time.
303 is one of my favorite military cartridges.
Same, and I'm so glad that SG Ammo just got 303 black in stock.
Oh, they did?
They did, and because it's the nice heavy stuff. It's the 180.
Oh, nice. So it's not 174. It's just a little bit, yeah.
Yep, and it's like, do I want to spend, that kind of money to get 200? I should, because I know the second anything happens, 303 is going to be impossible to find again.
I gave you chargers last time you were here, or one of the last times you were here, right?
Absolutely.
But no, like we because we exchanged because you were like looking at the markings and shit, right?
Because I have
you grabbed those, right?
Yeah, I have like every maker and every year now for chargers during World War II. That's what I mean. The 1890
with the hexagonal barrel.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think the 06 was the next model.
Yeah.
And that the first runs of 1906s, if I remember correctly, I know Todd B is gonna fucking light me up if I'm wrong, but like I'm pretty sure the early like 1906s and like 1906 through like 7 or 8, they had hexagonal barrels as well, and then they went to the round
Well, the 1906 was a shrunk down version of the
Yeah.
1890, meant to be a youth model, and it wasn't a popular seller. But they made them for a lot of years. They made them. That was
Until
like
the
the
30s,
gallery
yeah.
gun and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
And they're tinier than the 1890.
This one was probably a gallery gun, to be honest with you, because
Yeah.
it's been that bore is fucked.
Just shot out. Yeah.
Dude, I was shooting 22 long rifle low pressures, right? Just like whatever. And it was bulging the cases in the chamber.
Ooh.
And I'm like, I couldn't extract them. And I'm like, I grabbed my Gerber tool and I'm like, fuck.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, it's at, like, I was just shooting at like 10 yards just to see.
Yeah.
And it was a spread.
Okay, that's pretty rough.
Oh, it's fucked. I told you the barrel's fucked.
Like if you could get it like re-sleeved, that would be an awesome.
I just need to find somebody who can do it and do it right.
Yeah.
I'd be willing to actually pay money because what this is worth versus what I paid for it, it would be worth it because I love this thing.
And it's just a neat piece of history. So like I have always wanted, I'm like, I'm gonna buy one of those Henry ones now because I know it's gonna. I'm not because then I can use it and beat up on it too, and I'm not gonna have to worry about like if it gets wet or you know.
I know exactly. Yeah,
or whatever.
But for small game, man, I would honestly, I have a Savage. I don't remember the fucking model of it, but like, it was my first like 22. Like it was like, I don't know, I was like 12 or something like that. And it's the one with the, it's a semi-auto with a magazine. I can't remember the model. I've killed a lot of small game with that thing.
Okay.
I would take this fucking thing over that, to be honest
100%.
with you.
And I'm like, something about having the nice lean little pump action. You don't have to rely on the magazine.
Oh,
like,
dude, it's not like a shotgun. It's like when that thing's lubed, it's like I can shoot it just as fast, if not faster, than the semi-auto.
You get the tiny little throw on it too. You know, it's just great.
Yeah, exactly. So. But that action is so fucking solid for a 22. That action is
well. You got to imagine people have probably been wrenching on that gun for 50 years, and it still works.
It was built in 1912.
Yeah,
I think it's been longer than 50
being
years.
used. Probably like the 60s, I assume.
Well, I think it was used for like hunting and shit, and it went somewhere, and then probably was a gallery gun for a while or whatever, and then.
But like, you know,
I'm not mad about what I paid for it. I'm really not, because they're worth a lot of money. But like, that's one that I don't want to sell because
100%. And I'm like, I would love to get one. I would love an original one, but I'll settle for the Henry made one that I can actually use.
Well, absolutely. That's the thing is Henry makes really good guns.
Yeah, they make them in Wisconsin.
They make them in Rice Lake. Yeah. It's about an hour and 20 minutes away from me.
And I like that they're using American wood, American brass, and American steel, and it's all made
American labor. Yep.
You know.
And that's why you pay the price. But here's the thing: is they stand by their products.
They're lifetime warranted. They're heirloom
tried
quality.
And tested.
Yeah.
Like I freaking love Henry, but I want to get that. I know it sounds stupid because I've seen people that use it and everything. I want to get the Henry, the big boy that's in 357 and 38. I know it doesn't cycle 38s well, but having a rifle that shoots the same cartridge that I have a couple pistols
actually, now that you say that, Henry about 2 years ago fixed that. They work good now for both.
For 38 and
they fixed that.
Okay, perfect. I might, but here's the thing: is it's so expensive, and it's like, they'll be there, and then that would be like I would hunt deer with that son of a bitch
for sure. Or you get one of like original Henrys, but you can get it in 45 Colt, and so you still have to do like the Henry hop with it and stuff.
44 mag, yeah.
No, it's in 45.
No, Colt. No, but they also make it in 44 mag. They make the big boy. Yeah, they make it in 45 Colt.
Yeah,
44 mag. They have a version of that, and then they have 357 and 38, and then they have 30-30, obviously.
Yeah,
and then it's like 22s and shit. But like, no, it's like those calibers are awesome. All of those will kill big game.
And here's the thing: Henry's making money ass over tea kettle on their guns too, because they are relatively cheap and they're still really nice. Mm-hmm. And there's so many states and counties that are banning hunting with bottleneck cartridges. You have to have a straight wall cartridge.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Like there's so many, like Iowa. Iowa has a lot of counties that you could only hunt with a straight wall cartridge.
Okay, well, 45 Colt, 44 mag, 357. Okay, that'll
exactly.
work. That'll work.
And they're even coming out with the new guns that you can get them in. What is it, like the 450 Bushmaster?
Yep.
And then they have like
You got the 458 SOCOM, yeah, but that's AR shit.
That's also still bottlenecked. But no. The like
no, it's not.
Bush.
458 SOCOM. I'm pretty sure. Let me just really quick check that.
Or maybe I'm thinking of.
I'm pretty sure that.
I thought it had a slight bottleneck.
It is. You're right. You're right. You're right. Okay, I fucked up. I misspoke.
Yeah, 350 Legend. There's like 450 Bushmaster, the 360 Buckhammer. They're coming out with all these straight wall cartridges now. That Henry is one of the first companies that's making chamberings in those.
Yeah, and it's like that's good because I want everybody to be able to own firearms and be able to hunt with whatever the fuck they want, really. But like, dude, there's people that when I was growing up and shit, and still to this day, I know them and they hunt deer with a 22 long rifle, and the deer doesn't suffer. It's not like they run away.
Well, you get a good enough shot placement, you can kill anything with anything, you know.
Yep, and they use 22s. It's not legal. I'm not saying it's legal, but like, I know people who have done that. And
they're most poachers that kill deer every year.
That's what I mean. That's who I'm talking about that I've encountered. But like, not my friends or anything. I'm not acquainted with them. I just have encountered them.
Like Todd B said, now, like, you know, all those 35 caliber rounds that were real popular in the 20s and 30s, they're all just coming back, which is funny. So
yeah, it's like, you know, everybody's like, oh, this is the perfect cartridge. It's like, no, again, it's like having a fucking tool chest.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason you have more than one tool, because there's more than one job. There's more than one scenario where you need a certain tool for whatever. And it's like, I don't know, when I hunted deer, the 303 worked very well.
It does.
The 174 grain soft points.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
those go.
They literally, the deer would go down.
It was got a lot of energy transfer. I gotta get Lady off the accordion.
All right, yeah. The only one that ran was that buck that I shot, my first buck, like actual buck. I shot a spike when I was a kid, but like, and he ran for maybe 50 yards and just smoked.
I like it because it's big enough, it's moving fast enough to where for like here, there's so much underbrush.
Yeah, you know, that's yep.
It's moving fast enough to get through all of that because it's got a pretty long bullet, but it's also got enough weight to put a pretty big energy transfer in.
And it's also super controllable. If you have to do a follow-up shot, it's right there.
And then something people forget about, because like if your gun's in the warm, then you go out in the cold and your gun freezes up because of the condensation on it and the rounds and stuff. That rimmed ammo for primary extraction is fucking amazing.
It is. I've never out deer hunting. I've never had a problem. Because I hunted with my my long branch. I hunted with that for fucking years, right?
Yeah.
And I've never had a problem with extraction or anything. It was boom, another round chambered immediately. Mm-hmm. And then if I had to do a follow-up shot, okay, boom, done.
Well, I've had some stuff where it's like where the ammo would be inside and the rifle would be inside. And you take it out, okay? And all that gets cold. Then you go back inside and it gets all that condensation from the cold on it.
Yeah.
And then it gets all wet, and then you stop and have lunch and your gun's out, you know, it warming up. Then you go back out in the cold, and let's say it's a cold day, it's like 20. Bam, your gun can freeze right there because of all the condensation that built up on it while you're eating lunch.
See, I don't ever have that problem because I don't load the rounds until I'm physically walking out into the woods.
Yeah.
And then because of the detachable mag, I would always unchamber, throw it in the magazine, keep it in my truck. So it was always cold.
Fair. Well, I'm doing a lot of walking. So like I put my gun in, you know, take the rounds out of it to go eat once I get back to the shed. And then I load it back up and walk out to the stand after lunch. And
yeah, I never had that problem at all.
And it's just like if it's a really cold day, that metal and that steel will build up that condensation. And then if you don't let it sit long enough to fully get warm, you get back out there and it just freezes. All the metal surfaces get ice on them. So
yeah, no, I get that. I understand that, but like, yeah, I mean, it's the Enfield itself has got its drawbacks. It does, just like every single piece of technology does. Yeah. But as far as like working in the cold, I cannot ever say that I've had a malfunction with an Enfield.
Well, there's the reason why the Canadian Rangers used it up until 2017. So.
Yep, until the Tika, yeah. But like, and it's just, it works really well. And because I also, I've had a malfunction with an M1 rifle and a K98. That was the ammo's fault though. But like, I had a malfunction. I literally had I had a fucking bead 50 yards, not even easy shot. My buddy was with me, and I just went with a K98. I went click, no boom, with new ammo, new commercial ammo.
Yep.
And so I was gonna just rack the bolt a little bit, but I got pissed and I went racked a new one. Bam! Hit the deer. It dropped immediately.
Yeah.
I was so mad. I'm like, what the fuck? It might have been a slightly light primer strike, but like I've never had that problem with that rifle, so it must have been just that one round was not good. And it's like that's I think, and then the M1 that I had, that thing fucked up a lot in the cold.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot.
It's one of them things where it's like you have to keep it really greased and lubed. So, and like the thing that I love, and I've talked about it before, the worst gun failure I ever had was where I was actually shooting a K98 and it was with a bunch of Turkish ammo, old shitty Turkish ammo.
Yep.
And click, doesn't go off. So I'm sitting there holding it. And it's like 4 seconds, 5 seconds. I was holding it a while. Go to open the bolt. The second I unlocked it, round goes off.
Not good.
Pushes the bolt right back into my fucking hand. Thankfully, the bolt was strong enough to not shear anything or hurt anything. The gun was totally fine and stuff, which is credit to its safety.
But you got powder in your face.
Yeah, I got a lot of powder in my face and stuff like that, and little micro part. Good thing I had my safety glasses on. But like it was case ruptured, obviously, and it's just an absolute fucking mess. And it's a thing that I absolutely love, and I wish more modern rifles do it. The ability to recock the gun without opening the chamber.
Yep, like a Carcano or the earlier Mauser actions. Yep.
Or like all of the Enfields do it.
Yep, you can just.
Yep.
Well, what I would do is I would sit out in the when I was hunting with an Enfield, my long branch. No, I don't have a Savage number 4. I did, but it was a piece of shit. And so when I would hunt with that, I was always like a safety fanatic. So I'd have the bolt just open to where the spring was engaging, but I'd have it open, right? And then when I saw a deer, I would go, it's that quick. It's a very short length to throw it.
It's like half an inch, yeah.
But I also like when we were walking and stuff, I would put it on half cock.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want the bolt to make noise, and so I put it on half cock.
Well, that's the best thing. You get half cock because then you can't pull the trigger, you can't open the action.
Right,
and then just a little chunk,
Yep, and all of a sudden, it's like, oh, deer, and then you're good. So I love that.
Like that. It's a good feature, and I'm a big fan of. Ever since that happened, everyone's like, oh, well, if you have a light strike on your K98, you just open the action and close it back down. I'm like, that's when I had the failure.
Yep.
That was an out of fucking battery detonation. Yep. Granted, it was the ammo's fault and not the gun's fault, but like, and they're like, well, you just take another round or an empty piece of brass and pull they have the little cut in the side of the cocking piece.
No.
Like,
fuck
I'm
that.
not fiddle fucking with it that much. Why can't you be like the Swedes where I just go ka-chunk?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. And it's like, it's credit is as much as everyone likes to think that the K98 was the epitome of the Mauser, it really wasn't.
No, the G98, if they would have had a fucking tab on the back like the M96 did, it would have been the epitome.
Granted, they were the only ones asking for that, the Swedes.
Well, that's why I say the Swedish M96 is probably the best Mauser design ever.
I think so. It's definitely the best of the small rings.
Okay, even make it a large ring, but still have all the features. I don't give a shit. Like, that is the epitome of the Mauser action in itself.
It's the only one I'd buy.
Dude, I fucking love mine so much. It's so nice.
And I like that. That's a big thing. It's like I'm really conscious about is making sure I can recock the action somehow without unlocking the bolt after that because I could have died. That could have killed me.
Oh yeah, God, that would have gone through your face. Yeah.
Yeah, like if the Mauser bolt wasn't as strong as it was, that could have come right out of the back of the gun into my head. So,
Yeah,
so I like that ability to recock it. And I know you've heard me say it a billion times that it's a
no, I
feature
know that. And then like when we're at the range, you get. Well, I don't know if we've had any. You and I haven't had any like.
We've had some clickbangy stuff, but no like failures like
no
that.
like failure. Yeah, because I get paranoid around them too. I just leave them there, and then I will actually like. I'll like hold it and rack it on something to like see if the spark, is still going. Just because of what you told me. If it doesn't, well, on a 98, I'll just go really quick and just recock it and like as quick as possible.
Well,
but
it's
I'm like,
got to the point where it's like if that happens, I've had it happen since in a gun that I can't recock. I just set the fucker down and walk away. I'll come back to it in like 10 minutes.
Yep.
I'm not.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
It's not worth it at all. And yeah, I mean, I've done a lot of dumb shit with firearms, like really dumb shit where I should have gotten hurt. Luckily, I didn't. And that's why I try to teach people, like, don't fucking, yeah. But like, that's one feature. I mean, again, that's why the N96 is the best. It's like,
I like it. It's a feature that's on all of my surplus guns. They have the ability to.
They so could have done that with the large rings too. Like they could have done that.
Changing the cocking piece, literally.
It's one piece. It's like an extra fucking third of an ounce of metal, but it makes everything so much better.
I mean, or you could just have something even real shitty, like the Mosin cocking piece. Yeah, it's a finger breaker to use, but you can recock it.
You can. Absolutely. You can recock the Carcano.
That's also kind of a finger breaker,
but you can do it. It's rather a finger breaker than a fucking face or life breaker. So
I like it. I think more guns should have it. I think more modern hunting guns and stuff should have it as well. Because like you said, it's nothing to put on there. But
yeah, I know. And I mean, we can beat this fucking horse into the ground, but like, no, I know what you're saying, man. It's like, I agree with it. And it's the G98, like the 98 action is a great action.
For sure.
They were so focused on the functionality.
Yeah.
And the strength. They didn't focus on like the aesthetic, or not aesthetic, but like well, I just said functionality and I shouldn't have probably said that. They focus on the strength of the action and not like the user friendliness to the soldier.
It was meant to be reliable, but
and it is reliable.
Everything else is perfect around it.
Right. And it's like just again, that one piece would have made that the ideal.
I get it.
But
nobody else wanted it though. Even the really late people making, using the Yugoslavs making M48s never even put it on.
I know. No, they're like, yeah, we're you do a fucking intermediate length action, 98 action, and not put the because the Turks didn't do it either.
Nope. The only people that did were the Swedes.
And it was so smart. It's like that does not get caught on shit. That's not a piece of equipment that's like annoying and that's gonna get caught on shit. It's like
big deal if it does get caught on shit. What's it gonna do?
What's it gonna do? Yeah, you pull it back.
Because here's the thing: if you pull it back, if it's an ability to pull back, it's closed on an empty chamber. Hopefully,
yeah.
Or your firing pin's down on a live round, anyways. In which case, then you would want to pull it back because then your firing pin isn't resting on a primer.
So, yeah, that's another thing I don't like about the 1917 rifle, and I do like about the 1903. Springfield, we call it. The 1903, you can actually do that. You can just. It's not a finger killer. It's actually a really easy.
One of the things they took from the Krag. Krag was a real easy gun.
Yep, exactly. And but yeah, the 17, that's the one gripe I have is it's pretty much a Mauser action.
It's a small ring. It's based off the 1893, yeah.
Yep, and no, it's an Enfield. No, it has nothing to do with the Enfield. The people that designed it were from the Enfield factory. Who gives a fuck? It's not an Enfield, even though everybody calls it that. But anyway, that's the one gripe I have is I can't recock it. I have never had to, but I want the ability to be able to.
I get it.
So, but yeah,
I wish it is a thing that they did more, but oh well. And that's like I said, I'm just fucked over from that one in a million stars aligning perfect chance of that actually happening to me.
No, but that's fucking terrifying. Like, it's like that could have cost you your life or your well-being. Like, you could have taken half your face off,
Mm-hmm. And
but
it's an easy feature.
It's very easy, and but I mean, the Mauser's still. I think the Mauser's probably.
It's the epitome of the bolt-action rifle.
Yeah,
they still make them today.
Even the Enfield is like. It's a good system for its purpose to be fast and furious.
Mm-hmm.
Not strong, really not strong.
I mean, it's still a double locking lug action. It's safe and stuff, but it's not. The bolt deforms. That's the problem. It's where the locking surface is.
Yep, they're locking.
As safe as the Mauser. It has 2 locking lugs.
Right, and the one is the entire fucking. I'm sorry,
and
I froze up.
The safety lug, just like the Mauser.
I know.
But
it's also a lot smaller.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Is it's a lot smaller, and the same thing. So with the MAS 36, my problem with that is that it doesn't have front locking lugs, and that is a big fucking deal if you have a catastrophic failure.
Yeah, but it's more reliable in everyday conditions to have rear locking lugs because you can clean the shit out.
I know.
That's why they did it.
I love the MAS 36. It's like an Enfield that paranoids me about like if there's a failure, like is the front of the bolt just going to splinter back and bam?
Shouldn't. No, it shouldn't. But it's one of the things where it's like because they're actually chambering so much deeper than a Mauser action is, anyways. You're getting all that chamber from to hold it in. And then the other thing is like it's also the Enfields. The reason they kept rimmed ammo on them is you have less chance of a case head separation or pressures. You have gas and pressure mitigation built into the case of the round.
Yep.
So.
And that's why 5.4 is still in use.
Yeah.
You
have, first of all, that reliability that a rim provides you for a primary extraction. You can't beat a rimmed round for primary extraction. And then you have all of that extra metal in the back, which is going to reduce your catastrophic failures among, the case heads and stuff. And then because it's a rim, it has natural gas mitigation.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. If everything's locked up tight, yep.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the issue with the Enfields is headspace does matter on those. It really does
a lot.
On a K98, not as much. This is not any kind of gunsmithing advice, but from my observations and from what people have said who are experienced and I trust them. An Enfield, you got to check the fucking headspace.
Well, it's because of where the locking lugs are compared to where the pressure
and the cartridge itself is the headspace gauge. It's not built into the lugs. Yeah, and so that's one thing. Again, every design has got its drawbacks and its advantages. An Enfield, you can work that fucker real fast, and very accurate. But it's got its drawbacks because it's so small and it's like streamlined. It's like a really small sprinter.
It's a very svelte action.
Yes, and it can fail. It has failed, and so is the K98. So is the G9 or the 98 action. We'll just say, it's failed before, but when they fail, it's different ways of failing, and none of them are good.
But and a lot of the times when they do fail, it's because somebody's not taking care of it,
or the ammo is completely fucked.
That's usually what kills those guns. Yeah. Very, very usually what kills.
We just double loaded our fucking cartridges for this lot. This random lot you're getting to go out and either be in combat with or just go to the firing range. Okay.
Like when Winchester during World War I loaded some of those batches of ammo so hot they blew up 1917s, not just 1903s.
Right. Yeah, there was only a few, but it was still enough, like you said, to terrify the shit out of people and be like, well, I don't trust my equipment.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all it takes is like one little
It's just
thing
like the
like
Ross.
that.
What killed the Ross is the fact that it's ammo.
Yeah, inconsistent.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, it's it's insane to think about, but it's still really fun.
Yeah.
It's just
I'm still not ever going to say the Lee Enfield's a better action than the Mauser action, though. I'm not going to do that.
well, because it's not. I don't think
It's not.
overall.
Yeah. As much as I
Overall,
have a lot of them and I like it,
yeah.
I'm not one of those people that's like, it's the greatest fucking thing ever. I can Mad Minute with that. It's like,
Okay. Well, and
cool.
nowadays, grab a fucking AR then if you want to do a Mad Minute.
100%.
Like back then they didn't exist. So it's like ARs didn't exist. So it's like, well,
And besides, Germans can keep up anyways. You know why? Because they don't have to take the fucking clips out of their action after they load their round.
right.
So,
Yeah, they
and
could, they
most
could.
of the Mad Minute, you're only loading 5-round chargers at a time, anyways.
Yeah, I mean, I've done like my earlier videos, like back like
Mhm.
over 10 years ago now. Jesus Christ. I've shot Enfields, Mausers,
Mhm.
Craigs, other Mauser variants, all that shit, 03s. I've done videos on that and how fast you can actually shoot them
Mhm.
accurately. And there's really not much of it. Once you get past the first 10 rounds of an
Yeah.
Enfield,
You're only loading 5 at a time, anyways.
and the chargers for the Enfield suck.
They do. They're awful.
They're bad.
Getting the blued ones, like the World War I ones, are much better
I know,
than
but
the
they're
Arc
still
Five.
not great.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's kind of like the Mosin clips, right?
Mhm.
The Mosin chargers.
There's better ones than other ones, yeah.
Exactly. And it's like they still suck. It's not
Mhm.
great.
And
And
like you lose all that time
but the
because they're harder
Mauser,
to.
the Mauser clips, my God,
They're
it's
slick. Yeah.
done. And
And
then
you
you
don't
just
even need to
rock the
take the
bullet
clip
forward.
out, where it's like you have to, like with the
Yep.
chargers for the British stuff. It's a pain. You have to fight that rimmed ammo.
Yep.
Get it in. And
And
then
then
you have to take the clip out before you could run the action.
right, the
The
Mauser,
Germans
it's
are making it all up with their reload time.
done.
Yeah.
5 rounds immediately.
Or you
And
get
so
something like even quicker. Like you take an M95, which has packet loading.
yep.
You're just jamming it in there, and then it's just as fast as you can run that bolt is as fast as you're shooting it. You don't have to fuck with anything else.
Yeah, and it's basically the Enfield versus the Mauser argument. I would equate this to having in like Vietnam an ambush, and all the guys wanted 30-round mags, right? Because
Mhm.
the NVA and VC predominantly had 30-round magazines for their AKs.
Yep.
And initially in an ambush, you just dump rounds, get fire going while you're going to cover. And so the Americans would like buy these things, and it's like that's the equivalent of having a 30-round mag for an M16.
Yeah.
And then just dumping it immediately, which is fine. It's like a sound strategy, but like, and then just go into your 20s. That's what like the 10
That's
rounds.
essentially what it is. That's what
Yeah.
the Enfield is. That's what makes
Right.
it so fast. It's great. You have double the rounds, but
Right.
then the fastest thing you're going to do is load one charger at a time.
Right. And
At least
so
that's
it's
how
a,
the fastest one in the world went. He loaded shot his 10, and then it was one charger at a time.
yep.
So
Yeah, because you're just going to kill time if you load 10. Yeah.
you
It's,
start to get too fucky with it if you try to load 10s.
yep. And like, it again, all these rifles are tools, and whoever's using them and what purpose they're using them for that's what it's all dependent on.
Mhm.
And the Enfield's not a bad rifle at all.
No,
The
I mean,
Mauser's not a bad rifle.
served from the 1880s until, well, the last ones were finally taken out of service in the 90s. So
Yeah, well, their Mausers are still in service.
I was gonna say, well, I mean, if we're counting the Canadian Rangers, you got 130-year life on it.
On an Enfield, yeah.
Yeah, and then you're looking at the Mosin, which is about the same.
But it's still everywhere. It's being used
Yeah, they're
everywhere.
still everywhere.
Same with the Enfield and the Mauser. It's like, I mean, yeah, we've got new fun stuff, but
Heck yeah.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. Here's the thing too with like straight pulls. They're okay, but when they go, they go.
Yeah.
Like they're fucked. You know?
I get it. As a straight pull collector, I get it.
Me too. I've got a bunch of Schmidt Rubens. I've got my M95, plural. I get it. It was a great concept. There's a reason it wasn't adopted a lot more.
For sure. They're finicky.
Very. When they work, they're fine. They're great. They're fast, easy,
especially
smooth.
like they get something cool, like what the Canadians did, where you have a turn down bolt handle on your straight pull, so it puts your finger right by the trigger.
That was a good touch, you know.
Because
and it's
going from here to here costs time.
Yep.
So.
And yeah, because I can work a regular bolt gun just as fast as a straight pull.
Because you have to move your
I've tested this. Yep. Because you have to go up and way back usually. With the K31, they tried to mitigate that, but still, you have to go way back.
Yep.
And yeah, with like a Ross, that's like the closest thing they had to like a great straight pull. But again, there's a reason most countries didn't adopt them.
That's fair. And besides, the Ross and the M95 have the same parent. So.
Mine okay?
The 1890. The Mannlicher 1890.
Yeah. Yeah.
They have the same parent gun, so.
Yeah, and the thing is, like with the Swiss guns, they're smoother to operate. But again, once they go, that's a problem.
Yep. There's a lot of complicated stuff going on. Yeah. That's true. They do. The Danes still use the
1917 Enfield. It's not a fucking Enfield.
They use it for the same reason the Canadian Rangers kept the Lee Enfields for the longest time. Because they work good in the cold.
Fucking Todd B. He just says this shit to piss me off. I know he does.
Why? What's bad about that?
It's not a fucking Enfield.
Whatever. The U.S. rifle caliber 30 model of 1917.
It's actually just 1917 service rifle.
Still.
But it's
whatever way you want to get into it, you know.
I'm looking at Enfields right now on my wall. And I'm looking at my 1917 service rifle. Very different, but it's just a fucking boomer thing.
Yep. I get it.
But
I have a P14 Enfield.
Pattern 14, yeah.
So
it's British, yeah. Yeah, it's also not an Enfield, but okay.
No, they actually have it in manuals as that.
No, I know that. I know all of that. I know they do. All right, I get it. It's just not a fucking Enfield. Like
it is an Enfield. So is yours technically, because how the nomenclature was based off of the rifling.
I know.
And they both have Enfield pattern rifling.
But it's a fucking Mauser action.
Yeah. But how the British named their guns was like that. That's why the Lee Enfield is Lee designed the action, the magazine. Enfield designed the rifling.
Yes. Yep.
So yours is technically an Enfield. Just saying. But nerd stuff is
hard. They always called it like the British gun.
Yeah.
The 1917, they always call it that British gun.
Even though it's essentially a German gun.
It's an amount. It's like it's basically I would call it a Japanese gun. It's taking the best of both worlds and combining them together to make a better weapon.
Yeah, it's if an 1893 Mauser and a Lee Enfield had a baby.
Yep. And the Arisaka series of rifles, awesome, very highly underrated, like less so nowadays, but like
except for the Type 30.
The Type 30 sucked.
It was good. It was just one of those things where they made it too good, kind of like the Ross. It suffered from the same problems as the Ross. They made it too good.
Yeah, so. It's a good target rifle.
Mm-hmm.
Not a combat rifle, but like the Type 38 and the Type 99. Oh my god. I mean, my Type 99, the sights aren't made for long distance, which is fine. It's a combat rifle, right?
Yeah, your engagements are only going to be, 400 yards. That's
tops.
about as far as you can see. Yeah.
Yeah. And so 1917 Eddystone, yeah. I'll call it the M1 Springfield then.
Heck yeah. It's like when people call that one gun that from World War II the Garand. It's not his name.
Well, that's more like understandable because like he had a hell of a lot of influence designing that thing and like getting it out there.
Yeah.
But it's like again, it's like calling, you know, an M1 fucking M1 Rockala.
Yeah. But
I mean, it's just fucking funny. But
yeah, I get it. And as long as I understand what everyone's saying, I'm not going to get too upset about it. But
I'm just a pedantic fuck when it comes to shit like this.
yeah,
And I don't know why. It doesn't matter, but it's like, yeah, it's.
I'm not going to be like, can I see your U.S. rifle caliber 30 model M1?
I know.
I'm not
I
going to
know
say
that.
ever. Yeah. So
I'm getting past all this pedantic
Yep.
shit. Like I'm working in my life to just not be pedantic and you know,
Yeah, I
like
get it.
people that I hate, but like it's just like.
But like, I
I
also
just
get it where people say it's like, it's an Eddystone. Yeah, if it's one that's actually made by Eddystone, you can call it the Eddystone.
that's kind of where
Because like,
that's
I
where
want an
yeah.
international harvester. Everyone knows exactly what I'm fucking talking about.
A tractor?
I mean, I would have one of those too. They're expensive, but like,
They're awesome, yeah.
but I would like to. I want an international harvester M1, and it's like,
Yeah.
let me see the international harvester. So
yeah, that'd be cool. So far I got a Springfield and a Winchester M1, and yeah, they're nice rifles, but they do not like the cold, dude.
yeah. Well, also like, I don't want to pay the fucking money everyone wants me to spend
Oh
on
yeah,
because
fucking
they made
insane.
however many millions of them for how many fucking years. There's no fucking way they should be $1,500 or greater.
Right.
Dude, if I'm not spending that money unless it's a fucking unless it's like a fucking gas trap early one, I could maybe justify spending that much money on it. But for a 1950s never been shot, probably sitting in an armory M1, fuck
This is another one.
Colt
I didn't know I
45.
could do this now. This is fucking awesome. Colt
That narrows
45
it down.
pistol.
There's a
Yeah, I
lot
was
of
just gonna
Colt
say, yeah.
45 pistols.
It's like saying an M1 with the helmet, the half track, the tank, the anti-aircraft gun, the rifle, the
Two submachine
carbine.
guns, like
Yeah, the submachine. Like, what are we doing here? Yeah, that's a good one.
We should go back to that.
What, M1?
Naming everything M1.
And then we go to M2. You know?
I mean, if they actually did that, it would be logical. They just went down the tree, but pistol caliber 45.
Pistol caliber 45. Yeah, which one?
The good one. The 45 caliber one.
45 AARP. Yeah.
Yeah. Besides, I would rather have one of the fucking revolvers with the moon clips in 45 over the 1911.
Oh, the 1917?
Yeah, them things are sweet.
They sure are.
And they don't get hammer bite and all that other good shit, and they're nice and heavy, so they're easy
fucking,
to keep on target.
I told you when we went down to Ohio, James has got a Smith & Wesson 1917, and I didn't realize that they were different sized.
Yeah.
I did not realize that because I have two Colts, right?
Yeah.
And those were the ones that were made before and like right at the beginning of our involvement.
Yeah.
And then Colt like couldn't keep up with the contracts, and then Smith & Wesson got contracted.
Yep.
And so they started making them more streamlined because they're like, the Colt's fucking huge. Because we've
Smiths
shot
are much smaller
on our ballistic tests. Like we use the Colt 1917,
and
it's awesome because you can hit shit with it. It's big and no hammer bite, but it's fucking big. It's a big revolver.
It is a big. It's big for the round.
45 ACP. Yeah,
it'd be big if it was a 45 long Colt,
which it was originally designed for. That's what that's what that frame was designed to take. And 455 Ely and other fucking decent 45 cartridges, right? And then they went to 45 ACP with the moon clips and all that shit. And then it's like, well, we still this giant frame. We can Smith's like, we can do it better. And they did.
Well, Smith had 45 caliber revolvers, but they were just much smaller framed because they were the revolver people.
Yes. Colt was like the old school giant ass fucking giant cartridges, and they never got over that. And then, well, until this, but
well, yeah, once they started getting into making semi-autos, they put a lot of eggs into that basket. Whereas Smith & Wesson just kept making revolvers.
But it's cool that I got 2 Colts.
Yeah. Well, the best part was, they were making the hand eject for the British already, which for a 45 in 455 Webley caliber,
yeah,
it's still a pretty small revolver for a 45 revolver. Smaller than the Webley.
Oh yeah, the little fucker.
Yeah, and it's just a swing out cylinder, and all that other stuff, and it was in 455 Webley. And the British bought a shitload of them.
Well, 455 Webley is more akin to like the 45 ACP versus like a 45 long Colt.
But Smith & Wesson was already making revolvers for that. And that's why Canada ended up with most of them, because it was just logistically easier to send them to Canada, and then the Canadians would bring them over. But so Canada ended up with a shitload of them, and they actually used those into like Korea.
Yeah, I mean, Smith makes a great revolver. So does Colt, but I prefer Smith's.
If I'm getting a smokeless revolver, I want a Smith.
Yeah.
I like black powder guns. So
yeah.
Like one of my favorite Colt revolvers, the 1878. Get one of those in 45 long Colt, black powder. It's a cool gun. It's a double single action, or you obviously got the nice Colt. It's the Peacemaker, but the model number is the 1873. That's what I was thinking of. That awesome. I'd much rather have one of those than one of the Smith & Wesson black powders, as cool as the top brakes are. No,
Smith. Yeah, you're. I think you're right, because Colt. That's what I was just saying, is like they never got out of that big fucking huge frame, large caliber mentality, and Smith was going for the smaller, more compact.
They always were their whole existence.
Yeah, Smith, because I have a few Smith revolvers. Fucking amazing, absolutely amazing. Like they're just, they work great. Don't call it Tubby's just trying to troll me now for a reaction. You're not going to get it on that one.
But what if I want to talk about the actual Craig?
The Danish one?
Or the Norwegian one?
Well, those are the two Krags. It's not Craig, it's Krag. Yeah. Craig Jürgensen. I
wish I could get a Norwegian Craig in 6.5 Swede. That'd be awesome. But
I wish I could get one in 30-06. The ones that were upgraded.
Yeah.
That would be fucking beautiful.
That would be pretty fucking cool.
Yep. But yeah, 6.5 Swede is 6.5 Swede is probably one of my favorite like large caliber rifle rounds.
Yeah.
Or
they still make rifles chambered in it. That's how you know it's good still.
Oh man, that is one of the best hunting cartridges I think ever that existed. And we're talking hunting humans as well as
diameter. I'm like, do you know how many people in Norway have killed moose with that fucking gun for how
Oh my
many
god. Dude, yeah, it's fucking insane. It's like, yeah.
And it's got 2 locking lugs.
Yep.
Rimless ammo.
Well, even the 30-40, like that's a pretty beefy cartridge.
Yeah, it's 30-30, but longer.
Yep.
So.
And but it's still like you can drop big game with a 30-40.
It's the oldest.
You can drop big game with a 30-30.
It's the oldest gun you could use at Camp Perry's, the
Yep.
Craig.
Yeah, we were talking about that, and that's what I would use, honestly. The sights are better. It fucking doesn't recoil. It's accurate as a motherfucker.
Yep.
It's just very pleasant to shoot.
100%. It's a medium pressure round. Yeah, if you could find 30-40, which I'm surprised there isn't somebody cranking out making some of it.
Well, like I bought back in the day. I bought like 400 or 500 pieces of brass when I was broke, mind you.
Yeah.
And I've been reloading those because it's such a low pressure.
You can get like 10 reloads of it. Yeah.
Yep. and I've only got like 2 or 3 out of some of them. The rest of them are all
I'm
new.
surprised. Like you know how many people have these laying around, and somebody like Steinel, because they make weird shit.
Yeah,
Would just make fucking 30, 40 Craig. How much money they can make?
just a regular ball load. Like they don't have
Yeah.
to go like hunting rounds or anything. It's just like
if they just did regular fucking FMJs.
well, because you can use what I did is like back when I was loading for it and I was shot it a lot. The old one, but I have another one now. But like, I would just take the cartridges or the casings, and I just use 148 grain 7.62 NATO ball
You can. It's 30 caliber.
projectiles.
It's
Yeah,
the first American 30 caliber. They're all the
right.
same.
But I would use those projectiles and like load it to where it was like I would use IMR 4895 powder. I don't remember the load, and then just large rifle primers and all that shit. And dude, that fucking thing was so like I'm not a good group shooter at all,
Yeah.
right? I was sitting there at 100 fucking yards getting sub MOA groups.
Well, yeah, and you don't have to like hardly readjust the gun because it's so long and so heavy. The
You just
recoil
go
on
one
it's so
finger.
pleasant. The sights are so tiny. The action's so smooth.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a slick piece, and somebody should make money. Like there's a fortune of money to be made because there's a
30,
good
40.
billion of
Yeah,
them here
there's
in
tons
America.
of them, and they're again. So that's what I would consider our Ross is because that's a great target rifle.
100%.
I mean, fantastic target rifle.
Mm-hmm.
I understand why in the Spanish-American War they said the Mauser outclasses this fucking thing 10 times to 1.
Well, yeah, clip loading, box
And
magazine.
also just like it's a finicky, it's a very fragile gun too.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like made to be beaten the fuck out of like a 1903 is or a Mauser is. It's like
sure. We should all email Steinel and tell him to make 30-40 Craig though. Is that a bloody M41 behind me? Why, yes. Yes, it is. I died in that jacket. Thank you.
he came back from the dead. We got in one shot.
Yeah. So.
No, I forgot you're a movie star. I forgot about that.
That's right. Not my mustache, though.
That wasn't good.
Would have
You
been
see
great.
it now. Hey, who fucking told you?
What? My mustache is great. People love that thing. It has its own fan base.
You wanted to do a fucking mustache during those scenes?
I probably would have, yeah.
Well, you should have.
Could have.
If it was within regs, it'd be just fine.
Oh, it's always within regs.
No, it's not. That fucking caterpillar piece of shit you've got that goes on and like it's nasty and curly. It's not.
No, I wouldn't have done that. I just would have done like the Ron Jeremy porn stack.
Yeah, the fucking
kept Ned Flanders over here.
There was nobody else in that film that had it. You should have fucking done that.
I should have, yeah. Well, I asked,
and
then Mike was like, "No." I was like, "I could have been full on fucking Ned Flanders up there, because I shaved to do that part."
Yeah, I know.
But well.
No, in hindsight, yeah, that probably would have been a good idea to just have one dude with a mustache. Because it was very common for the U.S. guys.
Very common. A lot of people did. Yeah.
Yep. So, but whatever.
Oh,
no, it's still
that's always next time.
That's a jacket that you said you had the M37 shirt, right?
I got the whole outfit because mine were so fucked.
Did we just send you home with those?
Yeah, well, they're not worth selling. The whole liner's almost.
No, I know. Because there was so much shit that.
Because like everyone else got like multiple uniforms, but like I have to deal with the most squibs, and everyone's like, "What'll do it?" So we're just cutting holes in it,
planning
stuff, and cutting
good
new holes.
Good fucking planning, beforehand.
Yeah.
Jesus, yeah, that was
and
one
then
of those things.
The squibs didn't go off the first time, so we had to like take the
wash it. Yeah, I remember because we were back to the house and we're like asking Catherine and Tim, hey, we need to, and what the hell, Dean, we're like, we need to get this laundry done like now. They're like,
because I only had one. Yeah,
perfect. They're like, yeah, we'll get it done. How do you wash this? We're like, doesn't matter. We don't have a dry cleaner. Just fucking wash the blood out.
It's water soluble. Yeah, just wash it.
Yep. Yeah, no, it turned out fine, but like that house crew was fucking amazing.
That was amazing.
Like it's like whenever you're hungry, whenever one of the actors or any of the crew was hungry, it's like, can you cook me this? Yep. Chicken breast, this and that. You know, you want potatoes with that? You want rice with that? That was that, dude. That project would not have happened without them.
Nope.
It was so cool to be able to come back and just be like, "It was a shitty day. I need food, please."
Yep. I just want to stay back here with Sam for 2 hours after everyone else and put everything together, and then go touch my cot and smoke all the cigarettes. And
Yep.
so,
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a really good thing to have a house crew that was like that. Because usually, like on set, from what the other actors have told me, like they have catering and shit like that, but it's not like people that you can't go up to them and be like, "Hey, can you cook me this immediately? Because I'm fucking starving. I had a bad day." It's like, but at that house, it was just like, have a seat. You want something to drink? Sure. And
They
then,
always made the coffee extra hot. I was always up when they were starting to make it at like 2 a.m.
yeah,
And
yeah, I know, yeah, because you had insomnia hardcore there, and I was just like, I was trying to get like 2 hours a night of sleep, and I'm like, okay, just do that, pass out, it's like a nap, and then I'm up, and then I'm like, hey, and you've been up for like 2 hours at that point.
Yep, waiting for
Because you would wake up right when I was going to sleep
pretty
most
much.
of the time. And it was like you'd get a couple hours on the cot and everything.
Yep.
But it was not a lot of sleep.
Sneak out 2 hours early with everybody to try to set everything up so we
Well, yeah,
could
because
get
you and
filming right
Sam
away.
had to, because things got fucked up, but they got unfucked by you guys. But
Yeah,
that was a cool time. Like that was it was like,
definitely a fun time.
yeah, it was so weird and just like, oh, we're all here. Like
Yep.
everybody's here.
Drove for
But
12 and a half fucking hours.
so yeah, I drove for mine was 12, yeah. And it was just like, and I had all the shit in the van. And then I told you about, like, right before I got to Kansas City,
Yeah.
this fucking Minnesotan fucking clown just decides to go into my lane, and I'm like, and we're about to be on a bridge.
Yeah.
I couldn't just like pull into the shoulder, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna go off this bridge with all this shit, and I'm gonna die. And so I slammed on the brakes as hard as possible. This van's not stopping because there's so much weight. It's like basically having 15 people in the
That's when
van.
you just lay on the horn and just.
I couldn't. I was trying to like maintain it.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm going over as far as I can, just about hit the bridge. And mind you, this is a rental van. And so I just about hit the bridge. And then after that, like, because his girlfriend or his wife or whatever was like yelling at him, and he's like, oh, and then he tries to get in the other lane. There was a car right behind him because he's a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
He wasn't trying to get off as an exit or anything. He was just trying to change lanes. Did not look.
Yep.
And then I almost went off the fucking bridge, and I'm like, fuck, like by myself, and I'm like, God, fucking retard. And
I didn't have any problems like that driving down.
That was the only
I'm one of those people. It's like I get antsy and pissed off the second I'm in the car for more than 2 hours.
Yep, me too.
But like
that
I
was
was
the
a
only
very
thing.
uneventful drive through Iowa. I'm sorry, Iowa, but like be a better state to drive through.
Yeah, it was just like, I'm just like, how I was stupid. Like, there's no reason. Like, if he was trying to like get on an exit, like
No,
last
he
minute,
just wasn't paying attention.
right? And it
We've all
almost
been there.
And this bridge was like probably 150 feet tall. It was like a railroad bridge that went below the freeway. So I would have been fucked, and the whole project would have been fucked. And after that, I was just like, I calmed down and everything. I'm just like, God, fucking asshole, just screaming at myself, Yep. I just went on and went through, and then down to Missouri, and then met Sam and Brian, and yeah.
It's a good
But
time.
yeah, it was a pretty easy drive. It was just boring as shit.
For sure. Iowa's terrible. I'm sorry.
And so is most of Missouri.
I thought Missouri was a lot better than Iowa. But
well, there's some hills, but not
there's trees
much.
and shit too.
But then you get to southern, like where we were at. We were in the Ozarks.
Yeah.
And like that was pretty. That was nice.
That was fun driving too, up through the hills and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was cool. I love southern Missouri. It's kind of like Ohio, and like we went out there for this thing last summer, combat camera in July.
Yeah.
Mike and I were driving down there, and he's like, he's never been to that part of the country, and he's like, is it just all fucking? Because he drove through Indiana.
Yeah.
And he's just like, this is so fucking boring. Like, there's nothing here.
What's flat? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just flat with wind turbines and farmland. That's all it is. And
This is
so
where all your food comes from. Shut up.
yeah, we're driving through Indiana, and then we get to Ohio, and like we switched driving because I had been driving for like, I don't know, 8 hours at that point. And I'm just like, I don't want to drive anymore.
Yeah.
So, but that morning was really weird too. Like, I'll tell you about that in a second. But so we get to Ohio, and it's the same shit. It's just flat. We went through Dayton. We went through Dayton, Ohio. I've never seen that place before, but I've seen Cincinnati and other places. But we went to Dayton, and then it's just flat. And all of a sudden, he's like, "Is this ever going to get better?" I'm like, "Yeah, we're going down farther south." I'm like, "You're going to start to see hills," and then we did, and it's a beautiful area, Southern Ohio, Northern Kentucky, beautiful, beautiful country. And we got there, and yeah, it was just fun. But like, so we started off our drive on that one. He and I, it didn't rain at all last year, as you know, it was a drought. So I forgot the exact, I think it was July 30th, somewhere around there, 29th, whatever. He came out here. I picked him up from the airport. We load all the van up and all that shit. And then we're like, all right, we're going to leave at like 3 a.m. so we can, not hit Chicago traffic.
A reasonable amount of time. Yeah.
Right. And so we get up and we leave at about 4. We're driving down, and it's a goddamn thunderstorm, like an actual proper thunderstorm. Torrential downpours.
Yep, oh yeah, torrential. They're going as fast as they can. You still can't.
See. And I'm like, oh shit, we're on back roads. I know the roads, but I'm like, so we get to this one part, and it's like, oh, this road is under construction, and I'm like, fuck. So we have to take even like smaller back roads. So we do this route. I'm making it, and this van is like hydroplaning on the back roads because there's so much rain. I'm like, fuck, okay. And this is in the first like 15 minutes of us driving. And so we're on back roads, and then we get to this one kind of almost main road. It's like a county road. It's like a highway, I think.
Yeah.
And we're going down, and we're almost to the freeway. We're almost to 94. And all of a sudden, we're in this zone that's like 45 miles an hour. And it's literally like, there's so much lightning and shit. You can't even imagine it. It was awesome. I mean, it was beautiful.
Your typical Midwest thunderstorm. That's
if you're not driving in the fucking middle of the night, right?
Yeah.
And so we're sitting there driving, and all of a sudden we get to this zone where it's like 45. I know where we are because I live in this area. I've driven here my whole life. And this truck starts flashing me like, I'm like, I don't have my brights on. And all of a sudden I slow down because I'm like, what the fuck? Is there a cop, or like, is there an accident or something? And I'm just sitting there driving, and all of a sudden this woman appears in the middle of the fucking road. It was like Mike said, it's like a ghost. And she just looks at us, and I'm like, I'm slowing down at this point. I'm like, shit, I don't want to hit this woman. Like,
yeah.
And she's obviously on meth or on a
bunch
of shit. Yeah. And then she starts going, I don't know what the hell she did. I forgot what she did exactly. But she starts approaching my door, and I'm like, fuck this. And I hit the gas. I'm like, nope. But she was like tweaking out, like bad. She was not there. She was checked out. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. I'm like, and I'm just like, because Mike was the one that initially like was like, what the fuck? And I'm driving, so I'm calling, and I'm just like, okay, avoid. Oh, and it was like, I mean, we're talking torrential rain. And I could barely see her. She was probably about 5 feet away from the van in the middle of the road. And so I was like, okay, drive away. And I went, what the fuck was that? And Mike's like, I don't know. What the hell was that? Is that normal out here? I'm like, no. Because it's like 4 in the morning.
There's plenty of tweakers around.
No, but this is out in the middle of nowhere at 4 in the morning. Like, yeah, it was so random. But there was no houses around. It was like a church, and then.
Well, yeah, you weren't driving through a house.
Yeah, but anyway, I was just like, what the fuck was that? So we go down, we go to Quick Trip right before we get on 94. I'm like, let's just grab a bunch of shit. Yeah. And I got the shits for whatever reason. And then, so I shat there. We got some food and whatever. And I was like telling him, he's like, well, should we report that? I'm like, well, they're not going to fucking be able to react in time if I call the sheriff's office. Like, there's going to be so many people. And all of a sudden, as we're like walking out, there's a state trooper walking out as well.
Yeah.
I said, hey, trooper, you got a couple minutes to talk? And he goes, what? And I told him, I said, there's this woman up here about 2 miles, 3 miles north on the road, like by this place, in the middle of the road, tweaking out. And he just goes, all right, I'll check it out.
Mm-hmm.
So he was about, I guarantee he was about to get off shift. And
Yeah,
I said,
I'm sure his night shift was done or whatever finally. And he's like,
yeah, yep. And he's like, because it was like, yeah, about that point, it was like 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I'll go check it out. I was like, thanks, man. I know, whatever. But
Appreciate it,
she's good. I said, the last thing I said is like, she's going to get hit.
Yeah.
Like she's gonna get hit because it's the conditions aren't great. Anyway, we get on the interstate and it's just like a beautiful lightning storm, but not much rain because it was like we were just south of the storm, like following it west, or I'm sorry, east. And it was really cool because Mike's like, Jesus Christ, never seen fucking lightning like this. And
yeah,
I'm
welcome
like,
to the Midwest.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it was an interesting start to our drive, and then we get to Chicago and we took the route that had the most construction. I got off on the wrong exit. We end up going into a shitty part of South Chicago. And I'm like, we should not be here. This is not good. And because there were so many detours and shit. And I fucked up the one because he was like trying to get it updated on his phone. We're in South Chicago. And I'm like, this is not a good place to be. I'm not going to stop moving. I don't care if there's a fucking red light. So we just keep going. And there's bars over all the windows and shit. It's fun. So we get back on the interstate and just whatever. So we get to we get out of Chicago, and we're like, I don't know, we're outside of Chicago. I don't remember the town's name or whatever. But it's like,
Indiana.
No. This is before that.
Okay.
So we just get out of Chicago, go through the toll booths and shit, which is another cool story. But like we're driving and we get about, I don't know, 30 miles from the Indiana border. Mike's like, I gotta piss. There's nowhere to pull off because it's all under construction. And I'm like, all right, can you hold it? Yep. This is not the making of Reveille. This is the making of Combat Camera that happened last July.
Yeah.
Reveille was a different story. That was fucking insane, more insane. But no, so anyway, Mike and I anyway, long story short, he had to hold his piss for like 2 hours.
Ooh.
Like when he had to pee.
Yeah.
And I was
like you get to a bathroom and it's one of those ones where it hurts.
He was like pissing for like 15 minutes when we were in Indiana. And the first exit in Indiana was under construction. It was like, you got to take the next exit. And he's like, God damn son of a bitch. And I'm like, relax.
Well, you keep a bottle around.
I told him that.
Everyone's done it. Come on.
He goes in the back of the van. He can't do it.
Why?
I don't know. He's never
always
done it before.
Kind of struck me as one of those pee shy people, though.
Probably, but like
he's not been like me and you, where you're like bend over the thunder log with 6 other dudes, just like
right. And it's like
casually ass blasting chocolate rain.
I'll piss in front of those people. You know? I don't care. Like I've gotten over that. Like it's not a fetish, but it's like I'm not bothered by it anymore because of the military. It's just like okay, I gotta piss. Like that's how it's gonna go. So I was like, yeah, just go piss in the bottle. And he did it. He attempted it twice. He's just like, I can't do this. And I'm like, okay. And then when he started driving and everything, I was like, I gotta piss, but let's just make time. I just want to get there. We're almost there. Because I hate being on the road. That's the worst part of it. Because like anything can go wrong.
Anything more than 2 hours, I just start getting pissed off.
Dude, and it was like a 12-hour, almost 13-hour drive to Southern Ohio.
Well, I had to drive to Cincinnati to be in one of my friend's weddings.
Oh, it's a long one. Yeah.
And it was like, motherfucker.
Oh, it sucks.
I stopped like 3 times to get gas in the 12 hours. That was it.
Right. You just go through it, but it's like, you know, I was like, Mike, just piss in a bottle and then we can make better time. Couldn't do it, but it's like, I get it. If you've never done it before, it is awkward, especially when you're in traffic and moving, you know, I get it. But it's, you know,
it's one of those things. It's like, how bad do you really have to go if you can't?
Oh, he had to go bad, but it's just like, he just couldn't do it.
So pee shy, just pee.
But I don't fault him for it. It's like, it's awkward. It really is. But
awkward.
Like when we got to the gas station, it was great because we were just like, he peed for like 15 minutes. And then he's like, after I started peeing, I realized I had to take a shit. So he was in there for like a half hour. I'm like, are you okay, dude?
Are you alive?
Like,
Are you feeling in there? Like,
yeah. Well, it was a pretty trashy gas station. We were in Where the
Yeah, a
fuck
lot
were
of
we
them
in
there are
Indiana?
pretty awful and older.
Yeah, it was older, but like it all worked out. And then the rest of the drive was pretty uneventful. Like we stopped. I don't think we stopped after that. Or no, we did just switch drivers because I was like, I'm tired. I can't do this anymore. And then we drove and I had to piss, and I'm just like, I'm just gonna kneel down in the front seat, the front passenger seat. I'm like, you ain't gonna see anything, but I'm gonna piss in this bottle, and I did. He was like, how could you just do that? I'm like, years of experience, dude.
Yep, years of practice.
And I'm like, we don't have to stop to take a piss. Just
Here's
keep
the
fucking
thing:
rolling.
my privacy isn't worse than me wanting to get out of this car as soon as possible.
Correct.
So, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, I 100% agree. But like, he's not from the Midwest, so he doesn't understand how a casual drive can easily be 6 to 8 hours.
Well, he does. He's driven back and forth from LA to Idaho,
Yeah.
but it's like it's only a couple times. It's like, but yeah, it's you and I like when we're going somewhere to see somebody, it's like at least 5 hours. It's like, God damn it.
Yep.
It's it's just
I'll get through
annoying.
it, but I'm not going to be fucking happy, and I'm going to be tired and pissed off by the time I get there.
Exactly. And that's the thing is like we got to Ohio and like we were just fucking tired, and then we get out of the we because yeah, we hadn't stopped in a long time. We get out of the vehicle in Ohio and it's fucking hot
Mm-hmm.
and humid. It was one of the hottest summers they've ever had on record. It was like 97 degrees and like 95% humidity, and it was raining off and on, like
Yep.
heavy rain. And I'm like, and Mike's like, holy shit, it's hot. And I'm like, oh yeah, we're fucked.
Yep. Welcome to the Midwest, Mike.
Well, no, that's the more southeast like kind of climate. But yeah, it was really fucking hot down there.
Heck yeah.
But yeah, it was a fun trip. But Reveille was a different story about the travel and just the how everyone came together and we actually
Yeah.
got something done.
I didn't mind that drive. That was probably of like all the 12-hour drives I've been on, which was a lot.
Oh, because it's
That's
easy.
probably one of the better ones. Like I came in super prepared. I bought like 5 energy drinks. I had snacks already. I bought 2 packs of smokes. So just for the drive, I had 2 packs of smokes for the entire drive.
Oh yeah, I mean it was a long drive, and then you showed up and you were just like, I'm fucking tired. I'm like, yep, I get it. I just did this the other day, and I've been driving nonstop since.
Yep, I got to the little fucking like code box, and I'm like putting in the code, and it's not working.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you had to text me or call me or
Yeah.
whatever, and you're like, what the fuck's the code? And I'm like, this, and this, and you're like, okay, you got in, and I'm like, hey.
Yep, I just gave up until you were like messaged me, but there's like no good signal down there, so I'm sitting in park
Right
next to this box for like 10 minutes, just chain smoking,
ripping heaters. Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a fun time, man. It was a cool experience.
Yeah,
And that place that we stayed at was fucking awesome.
that was nice.
That was a
Mansion.
great place. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thing was it was so cool. And then again, having the house crew there that was doing laundry, taking care of all the food, the cleaning, all the
and
bedding
everybody
and
got
shit.
to sleep like they were actually in the army on a nice cot.
Yeah, I mean that's most of
I
the actors
remember when
love
everybody
that.
was like so excited to see their bed, and you're like, "This is your bed," and I'm like, "Here we go again."
Yeah, yeah. And I actually had an actual bed, but I was only getting 2 hours in it. But
yeah,
I needed to sleep because
for sure. And
holy
it was
shit.
like all those actors being like, "Oh, we get cots," and I'm like, "It's not that great."
No, but it helped. It helped a lot of them. They said it helped a lot of them get like kind of
In
not
character.
great sleep, so they were able to get in character a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
And no, everything worked out great. And just the whole situation there was pretty fucking cool.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like just
Nobody
it was
got
just
shot. It was great.
no,
Yep.
nope. And that that's a great thing. Like if this ever like just randomly blows up more than it already has, like, and people are like, wait a second, you guys use live rounds on set?
Yeah, and real guns.
Yeah, and real guns with real people who had very little experience, but we had people there who knew, yourself included, like who knew what the fuck they were doing, and if they saw something unsafe, they were going to call it out. And it's like, yeah, we got it done with live rounds, and it looked great, sounded great, and nobody got hurt.
It's true.
Oddly enough, isn't that weird?
I died.
Yeah. Does that did your jacket's got the 36 patch on it, right?
Yeah, it's got
I
all the
forgot.
stuff on it, but yeah, it's just so falling apart on the inside.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I think that's an original patch too.
Something, yeah.
I think it is. I think I bought an original patch for you guys.
Yeah, this thing's pretty fucked up.
It's so cool though.
Yeah. It even still stinks like fucking shoe polish and dirt and sweat.
Oh, all the shit that Sam put on. Yeah.
And all the like corn syrup fucking blood that's in it.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good shit.
Yeah, it's surprisingly comfortable. Like I remember like because
The
I bought my own
M41s?
leggings and
Yeah.
stuff and like it's a pain in the ass to put on.
But once it's on, it's nice.
Yeah.
It's a comfortable uniform, not totally functional, but comfortable.
Yeah. I was like, because I also was smart and broken my boots. A lot of people didn't before they got there.
Well, they broke them in while they were down there, and they were fine.
Yeah.
We didn't have any feet casualties except for me because I was wearing those mountain boots, and I sold those since then. I sold those. I should have just worn my black ones, the speed lace. I should have just worn those.
Yep.
But lesson learned. And yeah, I mean, nobody bitched about blisters or anything. And like I told them, I said, if you got blisters, like come see me. Nobody did.
We'll give you some moleskin and stuff.
I had plenty of that. I used a shitload of that when we were on set.
Heck yeah. I was like, I just put my fucking insoles in them. I wore them all the time when I was at work. And
yep. Yeah, they're nice boots. They're actually pretty. Like I had a pair like that I wore when I was going to Hamlin when I was going to school. I just wear them and people would be like, "Those are really nice shoes. Where'd you get them?" And I'm like, I got them from SM Wholesale, you know, because like in the winter, I would walk and like it would do the imprint on the snow, and people would be like, "Are those army boots?" And I'm like, "Well, they were at one point."
Yeah.
And like they were from World War II. Like there's a reproduction World War II set. Like those are army boots though, and I'm like, "Yeah, those look great." Like, yeah, they do. People dress better then in general.
They did. They really did. Like you had a tie. That uniform had a tie.
Yes, it did.
So,
it had a tie. Yep. And
you wore into combat.
Yes. I mean, that's professional.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, it's just funny as shit. But no, those boots are fun. I actually have to find my pair. I don't know where the fuck it went. I lost it when I got back, like because I had so much shit. You know, because I was in charge of all the costumes and stuff, and it was just like it was all in one giant clusterfuck. You should have seen the van on the way back. Because I drove lane home, like because I was like, well, you're on my way back home. Like, you're half hour out of the way. I'll just bring you home, so you could stay a couple more days. And then, I was like, I'll just bring you home. So we were driving, and we could not fucking move. Everything in the van was riding like this the whole way.
Yeah,
basically, and
suspension. Yeah.
It was just there was so much shit in there. And it was like fucking Christ. So I got home, I just threw it in a big pile of shit in the garage. I returned the van and everything, and I'm really surprised. Never mind, I'm not going to say that on a public thing about the van because you know what happened with the van.
Yep.
And no extra charges, so that's good.
Heck yeah, can't beat that.
All right, dude. Yeah, I think it's getting there.
Yeah, it's time for bed. I gotta go do some shooting tomorrow.
Oh, God forbid. The weasel horse has got to go outside.
Got 2 handguns I gotta shoot, and then there's a couple people that wanted to come with, and I don't think they've probably ever shot a gun before. I was like, sure.
That'll be fun. It always is fun.
We're gonna learn you how to be a true American here.
Learn you how to be a true American.
That's right.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching so much, and we'll see you on the next one. Jesus Christ, almost 3 hours again.
I know, right?
Yeah, it's fun.
It was a good time.
All right. Later, guys.